Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to another live stream. I will once again check all of the various knobs and levels of power and whatnot, make sure that everything's fine. Everything seems fine to me. I check my microphone and the outgoing volume levels and whatnot. Of course, if YouTube quits on me, there's nothing I can do about that. YouTube has shown a decided tendency in the last week to quit on me, but anyway, I thought I would start off with a couple of throat clearings before we shift immediately to the chat, because this is not going to be a long chat. We are going until 10 past the hour. And throat clearing number one, I thought I would reprise something that I made an entire video about. That video got some odd responses, to put it mildly. Responses that were odd only because I made a 20th century video in the 21st century, and that's always going to lead to dissonance. And that would be about email etiquette. Basic email etiquette. If we could go over 4 basic pillars of email etiquette, that would be great. I spend all day on my computer. I do email all day long. So I feel in a good position to talk about email etiquette. Piece of etiquette number 1, no dissertations. Don't send me an enormously long email. Don't do it if you expect a response. And if you don't expect a response, just put it in your diary. You're wasting your time to send it to me. Don't send a dissertation, a gigantically long email, especially one that is aware of what it is, so that at the midway point you're saying, I know you don't like long emails, but I really couldn't say this in any shorter length of time. Or that goes all the way to the end and says, I know you don't like long emails, but you can knock off the routine with me. This is important. If you send me a very, very, very long email, I am going to ignore it. I might even, with the best of intentions, tell myself that I'm not going to ignore it, that I'm going to get to it. But my mind will be automatically labeling it as work, and I won't get to it. Just plain and simple. Number 2 is no insults. Now, this is the one that got me that got me the weirdest response last time, with someone saying that that's pretty extreme to expect someone to email you without personally insulting you. Nevertheless, I do say it. Personal insults and personal communication. They don't start it. They don't kick it off. They're not a fun individual way to start or characterize the conversation. They end all interaction forever. Once upon a time, for all of my life and for 270,000 years of human existence on Earth, they wouldn't have ended all communication forever, because there was an option of something called a sincere apology. Those of you who were born in the 21st century are going to need to Google that. You have never experienced it. You don't know that it exists. You know that a fake apology exists, ukulele and all, but you don't know that a sincere apology exists. Once upon a time, there was a sincere version of a fake apology, but they don't exist anymore. That social gesture does not exist anymore. And social gestures don't come back when you whistle for them. They need to regrow organically. So the world will never see that again. Which means if you send me an insult, you have ended our communication. I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to tell you not to insult me. I'm not going to insult you back. I'm just going to ignore you and block you. And then thing number 3 would piece of etiquette for email. Number 3 would be, don't lob links at me. Just don't send me an email saying, thought you might find this interesting in the title, and then the body of the email is simply a link to something. Don't do that. Not only is that exactly what catfishing malware does, but also, even if you aren't catfishing malware, it's pretty damn insulting. That, you're not worth talking to about this. You're a responsometer. You're a vending machine in the hallway. I'm just going to press a button and I want a response from you. So here's the link. I've actually had people who lobbed me a hot link, or I write back and say, well, I determine what videos I'm going to watch and when I'm going to watch them. So I haven't, of course, clicked on this link, but you feel free to tell me about it. And they say, just watch it. Okay. All right. Well, just watch it is your command to me. And as coincidence would have it, my responding command to you is also 3 words. So just don't do it. Again, it is simply wasting your time. I am not going to respond any more than to write back to you and say, kindly care to tell me about this. I'm not going to click on whatever you send me and watch a link or listen, God forbid, to an hour-long podcast just because you're too lazy to talk to me about it. And thing number 4 would be the 4th piece of basic email etiquette. There are other things we could talk about, but thing number 4 would be no guilt trips. No emails that go, I'm feeling all alone. It's dark in here. No one talks to me. Uh, but no need to respond. Don't no need to respond. No need to respond equals no need to read. Okay, you should save the guilt tripping for other people. I was raised Boston Irish Catholic. Okay, so trust me when I tell you, your best attempts at guilt tripping me are rank amateur compared to what my mother could do on an off day. So not only is it an inherently unfriendly thing to do, but also it's a waste of your time. So there you go. Can we get those straight? No dissertations. Email is for quick correspondence back and forth. You'll get plenty of emails from me if you don't start off with a dissertation. No personal insults. Nothing in our parasocial contract, nothing in our social contract, nothing in the world obliges me to absorb a personal insult. I will not do it. Number 3 is no lobbed links. Don't simply lob things at me. Tell me about them or keep them to yourself. And number 4, no guilt trips. No, no need to respond. I'll just sit here in the dark. I'm fine. I'm just going to chuckle and ignore you. Okay. So there you go. That I thought that was a good throat clearing for the beginning of this video. And then the other part of the throat clearing, uh well, it would be comic book related. And I know that not a lot of you are interested in comic books. I was rereading this, The Mighty Thor, number 150. I was rereading this and it's just so good. Oh my god, it's just so good that I wanted to go on and on about it. And I don't know that, that Michael K. Vaughan and I will ever get to this on Epic Comic Book Wednesday. This is the greatest run on Thor of them all. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby with Vince Coletta inking. And in this particular storyline, Thor's father, Odin, oh god, there's a lot we could say about Thor's father, Odin, but in this particular storyline, he has stripped Thor of his godly power. And it's very interesting that he's exiled him to Earth and stripped him of his godly power. And it's very interesting what Stan Lee thinks that is and what he thinks it isn't. Thor can no longer summon storms. When he throws his magic hammer, it does not return to him. That enchantment has been withdrawn. He still possesses his strength, his physical strength, which we're told it's his birthright. But he doesn't have any godly stamina anymore, which you would think would be his birthright as well, and also something Stan Lee just vaguely refers to as his immortal power. It's an odd concept. Stan Lee definitely has something in mind, but he almost never really describes it. At one point in another issue, Thor is fighting a villain called the Absorbing Man. The Absorbing Man is theoretically on paper able to match him power for power. But even when the Absorbing Man has all of Thor's power, he's still totally at a loss. He says it's like fighting a whirlwind. And Thor, this kind of Thor, doesn't really get all that tired. He seems largely invulnerable, except in this line where he just has his godly strength and his hammer. It doesn't return when he throws it. It can't summon storms, but it is a powerful weapon. But that's it. That's all he has. Can't fly, can't summon storms, can't go on all day fighting. He gets tired fairly easily. And he fights the Wrecker. A mortal man named the Wrecker is accidentally given gigantic superpowers and starts fighting, just wreaking havoc with a crowbar for no reason that we know of. We don't even have any idea what his goal is. But Thor sees him right away and they fight, and the Wrecker beats the crap out of him. Seems to kill him. He seems dead. The Wrecker actually says at the beginning of this issue, see, he's pulling rubble off of Thor's body, and he says, if you're playing possum, no, he ain't faking. He's done for. I don't even feel a pulse. Nobody can make their own pulse stop beating. He's either dead or dying. Look at Kirby's artwork here. Look at that panel. That's just amazing. This is amazingly good. And he just stalks off, but Thor is not alone, as you can see. A hand is reaching down. Look at this panel. That is, this is just an old comic book. It's not the way comics should be read, so it's a little difficult to position with the lighting. But that is the goddess Hela of death. She's gigantic. She's routinely portrayed in these issues as something like 8 feet tall, and she is hovering over Thor. She tells him, "Thou hast battled well against insurmountable odds, God of Thunder. Now 'tis time for thee to rest forever." But Thor isn't quite dead. There's a little bit of life in him yet. His astral form rises up out of his body. Hela says, "'Tis most unseemly. Those whom I do claim may ne'er escape my eternal embrace." But Thor says, "Nope, I'm gonna fight. Even though I don't have a body, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna rush off and fight." There's a long interlude in Asgard, and then we find Thor again. He's a ghost. It's just his astral form. He's fighting, trying to fight the Wrecker, but it's not working at all. And when he goes back to his physical body, again, we have interludes in Asgard. But when he goes back to his physical body, he sees that Hela is nowhere around, which gives him the idea that maybe his body is recovering. And he merges with it again, and sure enough, it is. This is the very first time that we have ever seen that Thor could do anything like this, that he had any kind of ability like this. Marvel fans are familiar with because Doctor Strange can release his astral form at will. And I don't know, is it the soul? Is that what Stanley is thinking here? I don't really know. We didn't know that Thor could do this. This is just another example in the Lee and Kirby run of the essential truth that it's incredibly hard to kill an Asgardian, especially Thor. Uh, but I was reading it and I was just loving it. I was remembering it. I was remembering it because it had you get 8 pages of Thor, and then you get a backup feature, and forever and ever that backup feature was Tales of Asgard, just stories of Thor in his home in Asgard. A wonderful, wonderful backup feature. And then at one point, Stan Lee decided to replace it with Tales of the Inhumans, this off-brand group of misfit superpowered beings, and fans generally didn't like it. I mean, this was at a time when Marvel got letters, and when a lot of those letters were completely assessing, the fans would assess the decisions of the editors, and the letters page for the next 5 issues was full of people saying, "What is this Inhumans business? Bring back Tales of Asgard." Uh, I remember that. I remember that controversy as being very, very enjoyable. But anyway, so those are the two things that were my throat clearing. I was told earlier today that my throat clearing should also include a passionate call for a lot of you to go over to my Substack and subscribe as a paying member. I was told to do that. I was told, not by the usual source, but by a different source, I was told, you can't expect paying members over there if you don't ask for it, if you don't flog it, and you do almost none of that. So feel free. But anyway, those were all my throat clearings, mainly the email thing. Because I've talked about it in a bunch of videos. I made a video about it that got pretty good attention. People did notice it. I've written about it, and yet it still happens. All 4 of those things still keep happening. 2 of them happened just today. And then not go. My main point is not what annoys me. It's that they are a complete waste of your time. It's a complete waste of time for you to try and guilt trip me. Completely. I was trained by an Olympic level expert. It's a waste of your time to write out a gigantic dissertation about your entire life history and don't know why I did this, but then I turned 5 and let's talk about that year. You're writing it and you're taking time over it and you're sending it, but I am not going to respond to it. Insults, of course, go without saying, right? And the same thing with, I would think, with lobbing links at me. Just here you go. Here's something. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Just watch it and respond to it. Well, I haven't watched it because I've got other things to do. Maybe you could tell me a little about it. No, just watch it. Anyway, now we will turn to the chat and we will see. Now, see, here I know that I'm reading this wrong because I see that I have 4 people watching. And I know that can't be right because the chat is big. It's active. So there's got to be more people here than that. But anyway, let's see what is on people's mind. California is first. Hooray for Steve's weekly Stevestream. Should it be more than weekly? Should it be nightly? I could get headphones. Rasmus says, "Why do people pretend to like Finnegan's Wake? It is literally incomprehensible." Yeah, you asked and answered. You've asked a question and answered it. That reading guy is here. It makes them feel smart, I guess. Okay, Cupcake, but the question was aimed at me. Okay, not at you. That reading guy is back. Oh wait, the chat jumped already? That's not possible. It's a few minutes. That reading guy is back, and he has gone from number 3 to number 1. When I'll always think of him as number 2, if you know what I mean. Now, what does that mean? It's disgusting. I'll tell you later. People like Proust partly because they've invested so much time into reading him that they develop Stockholm syndrome, as you've experienced in Proustober later this year. Talon Tanky says, "Hi Steve, I recently found a copy of To Begin Where I Am by Czesław Miłosz. Is it worth a read?" Is it worth a read? Talon Tanky. Well, Czesław Miłosz is worth a read. Yes. Have you read all of Jane Austen's novels? Have you read the Iliad? Have you read Crime and Punishment? Uh, those are also worth a read. They're more worth a read. Cosmic Gaze is here, and he's now number 3. Hello, Steve. What are some tips you have for dealing with grief? My grandma's at death's door. She's 104, but it still hurts. Well, yeah, right. It will. And the thing to understand about grief, I have experienced an enormous amount of grief in my life, and the thing to remember about it is that it is like a cold. It's like a viral infection. When you get a viral infection, like say you feel right away, oh my God, I am coming down with a mild case of the flu. I can feel it. It's been building for 3 or 4 days. And when you feel that, you don't feel any personal shame and you don't feel any weird compunction to hide it or to tough it out or whatever. No, no. Grief is just something that happens. It's something that happens to you like a viral infection. The key is to just ride it out. If you knew someone who said, "I feel like I've got a cold coming on, a really bad one," and then you check with them 3 days later and they've got a cold. Sure enough, they've got a cold. They've got deathly pallor, they've got a runny nose, a terrible headache, they can't really eat. And then 3 weeks later, you encounter them and they don't have a deathly pallor anymore. They seem just fine, but they're acting still like they have a cold. Well, then you would know that something is really, really wrong. And it's not that they have any medical illness. Same thing with grief. You are not betraying your loved one for grief to run its course and then stop and then just leave you like a viral infection. Too many people, when they grieve, think that I better prolong and intensify this process because otherwise I mustn't have cared all that much. No, 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 no. You're remembering the person, you're honoring the person, you're incorporating parts of them into yourself. All of that goes on for the rest of your life. Grief is a storm, and you're not honoring anyone to prolong that. So when it happens, I I would say my primary advice about grief is let it happen, but let it happen in all of its parts. So the horrible onset, the blinding part, the commanding part, and then going away part. Most people don't like the going away part. It feels disloyal somehow. Uh, the literate Texan is here. It's that time again. The literate Texan says Steve time, and he is now number one. But that reading guy's comment immediately follows him, and he also is number one. Can't have two number ones. I just finished Flowers for Algernon. I thought it was terrific, but a little heavy on the psychoanalysis. Do you like the novel? Is the movie worth watching? I didn't like the movie much at all, but I didn't all that much like the book either, because the book all makes the same has the same dumb conception of intelligence that a lot of dumb TV shows have, which is that it's that genius is a place rather than a state, that it's someplace you can get to. And when you get there, all the furniture will already be there. That kind of drives me crazy. Like, what is an example? I mean, you can come up with a million examples from TV. Like, well, there was a TV show with Zachary Levi years and years ago where a character gets plugged in to be basically he gets souped up to be super accomplished in certain fields when the accomplishments in those fields would come from learning. They aren't just a place you can go where the accomplishments are already there and you already get them. Probably the biggest example of this, the most popular example in relatively recent memory would be Good Will Hunting, where the main character, he could be as smart as he wants about math. He won't know the nomenclature. He won't know anything about any of that. It's just uh, in Flowers for Algernon, the character becomes a genius in a way as if geniuses are all the same, as if it's a place you can go to when it's not. Its conception of advanced intelligence drives me nuts. I mean, the book is a page turner, but its conception of the end goal. of enhanced intelligence drives me insane. Um, SPQ Romantic says the movie is very good. Well, we've had our first disagreement of the evening, haven't we? But people disagree about Steve about movies all the time. Must Read More says you mentioned the Andrew sisters in your Irish stew video, and don't sit under the apple tree is still stuck in my head. Sorry for the earworm. California is now number 2. I'm convinced that YouTube makes these distinctions up. Says, is The Hot Zone by Richard Preston worth reading? Yeah, it's very, very pacey. It will really pull you in. It's a little bit depressing to read because you'll see in its pages a whole bunch of conscientious government officials working hard to recognize reality. So you realize right away you don't have to read more than 100 pages of Hot Zone before you realize that if anything like that were to happen now, everyone connected with it would die. So, and that is going to happen. That absolutely is going to happen. You're going to get probably it won't be a xenovirus from a weird wet market or anything like that. Probably be just that some infection supercharges its invulnerability to any kind of antibiotic treatment. Probably that will be the thing. I mean, think about the diseases that are around right now that are not conquered in any way. Think about the viral infections that are not conquered in any way. Now imagine if nothing worked on them. We don't have to imagine hard because you go back to the 8th century, that is true. And they cut swaths through the human population. Uh, but anyway, let's see here. California says thoughts on the works of Peter Dale Scott for a live stream. Literate Testing is back. Flowers for Algernon is terrific. I think the psychological stuff in the story is a sign of the times. Did you read the original short story or the novel, which was expanded from the short story? Oh, you're asking someone else in my own live stream. Okay. California says, what is your favorite science fiction film? Should be Dark Star. Teach the bomb phenomenology. My favorite science fiction film. What would that be? I guess it would. I hate to be all Jordan Peterson on you, but I guess it would depend on what you mean by a science fiction film. Uh, I mean, would you count Lilo and Stitch, the greatest movie of all time? Or if you're emphasizing favorite as opposed to good, if we're emphasizing favorite as opposed to good, it would probably be Predator 2. There's no stopping what can't be stopped. No killing what can't be killed. This thing is from the other side. That reading guy is back. I'm behind in my Steve video watching. I've been reading and marking grade school assignments instead. California says, "What are your thoughts on the book Charlie Wilson's War?" Oh, we're in a kind of a fact boy mood in the chat tonight, aren't we, fam? I didn't like the book Charlie Wilson's War. Andrew says, not sure if you've mentioned the death of Jerry Conway, but I'd be interested to hear your memories of his work. Well, I could go on and on. I love his work. I was kind of thinking that Mike and I would talk about it on a Wednesday, just go over a Jerry Conway retrospective or whatnot. But he doesn't like. I'm pretty sure he doesn't like somber subjects like that. So, Caden Connolly says, "Hi Steve, is Nancy Reich's biography of Clara Schumann worth reading? I'm trying to find some good biographies of female composers for the Sound of May. Right now, it's a sausage factory." Yeah, the bane of classical music, the bane of classical music studies is that people have to go hunting for women. And of course, that is one of the big cudgels in the weapon bag of any professional online misogynist is that no woman has ever written the plays of Shakespeare and no woman has ever composed symphonies of Beethoven. I have not read Nancy Reich's biography of Clara Schumann. California says, "Is Dahlgren worth reading?" Boy, oh boy, we are definitely on a fact boy kick. Let's hope it runs itself out. Otherwise, the 10 past the hour can't get here fast enough. Dahlgren is very much worth reading, but it's not easy to read. So, budget your time accordingly. Kay Napolo says, "Hi, Steve. Were you able to enjoy a nightmare-free sleep the other night? Hope you're feeling energized. I wish I had the health of a 28-year-old." I did. I complained about this. I complained about this on an Irish Stew video that it was pretty much time for me to sleep. One of you immediately got the perfect joke about the Odin sleep, which again, if you know your old Lee and Kirby Thor, you know what that is. It was nightmare free. Yeah, and it totally energized. I don't doesn't mean I'm a fan. That reading guy it says, "I read the novel, but not the short story. Is it any different from" Oh, you're responding to someone else in my live stream. Okay. Manny says, "I've been furiously studying ancient Greek for the last few days, and it has been so much fun that I've been neglecting my reading. It's such a beautiful language in a primal sort of way." That's actually a very good way to put it. It's a beautiful language in a primal sort of way. It is a thrill to study. It's just it's not quite so thrilling to study it if you've got a graded exam coming up. But if you're doing it as a hobby, then all that pressure is removed. Morgan says, "How many films do you watch a month, would you say? And did you enjoy Tarantino's work? I've always got the impression you wouldn't like his movies." Well, it's hard not to like his movies in a cartoony way because they're basically cartoons. And the cartoony aspects of them, I very much like, of course. Um, but I don't know that you're complimenting a director at all to say that some of your favorite scenes from his movies you can watch with the sound off. I'm not sure that that's good a good compliment for a director, and yet it's true for Tarantino, at least for me. Uh, but as to how many I watch a month, it depends. Again, I'm doing a lot of it depends here, but the main thing is that usually in a month I will watch a screener of a movie and I will want to watch it repeatedly. So that doesn't really count. I'd say probably 6 a month. Um, Nate Bouchard says, "Is it ethical to root for gas prices to go up so that Trump supporters suffer?" Well, it won't only be them who suffer, but it will be primarily them. But, keep in mind who you're asking. I think that hatred of Trump cult members is totally ethical, for any reason, at any time. Uh, SPQR Romantic says, "Oh, is responding to somebody else." Okay, 88. Oh, all right. We'll go. The chat jumped because you people are not paying it, keeping your eyes on the prize. But let's go back to. There we go. ADHD reader says, "Steve, why do I feel a stream between you and Fran Lebowitz would be incredibly entertaining to watch? Am I crazy here?" As I don't know why you would think that. It'd be pretty painful to me. She can't go more than 20 minutes without tobacco. So it'd be pretty painful to watch. Um, it certainly wouldn't happen in person. That's for sure. That reading guy says, "Do you like Will Self's novels? Is he a dude bro author?" He's not a dude bro author. No, I like his novels. They are not my cup of tea. They are intentionally difficult, and they're difficult. Him making them intentionally difficult is born of a dude bro attitude that I don't like, which is that the normal novel is played out, that it needs some sort of Frankenstein surgery on the table, or it's not interesting at all. That is totally wrong. But I still like what he produces with it. I'm actually blurbed on the American paperback of one of his books. That reading guy says, "Oh no, that reading guy said that already." ADHD reader says, "We need a dude bro lit manifesto." Cosmic A says, "What are dude bro novels you actually like?" Are there any? I mean, what have they adopted? Have they adopted anything that I like? Their Bibles, I universally hate. There are books that they would like if they knew about them, but they're not. They're very incautious, incurious readers. They don't go looking for new books. They and now the literary world knows that they can market specifically to dude bros. So every year you get a couple of novels that are just designed for those readers. They pretty much the title pretty much of those books should be "No Women Allowed." And if you were to write a book called "No Women Allowed" and it was 1,000 pages long and it was mostly about lug nuts, you would sell enough to recoup your advance, only to dude bros. Uh, that kind of intentional marketing happens now, but in terms of books that maybe would qualify that I like, that mostly they wouldn't know about. They don't know about Tom McGuane. They don't know about Pete Dexter. Pete Dexter's first novel, God no, or no, what is it? Oh my God, I'm blanking on the name. The one before Paris Trout. Uh, okay, I'm blanking on the name of Pete Dexter's first book, but it is pure dude, bro. They would love it. Oh my god, they would love it, but they'll never know about it, and they wouldn't. There's an aspect of it that they wouldn't love is that it's beautifully written. God, can't believe I can't remember the name. Anyway, let's see here. Morgan says, Do you think you would enjoy Nero Wolfe's company if he were real? He would scoff at wine and calzones, but do you think you'd get on? No. No, not at all. He seems insufferable. I noticed that we are told in the Brownstone that Nero Wolfe, he's punctilious about his meals, won't postpone them except for dire emergencies. So, and we are told that when it's time for lunch or supper, no business may be discussed at the table, and that Wolfe does most of the talking. But notice that every other aspect of life in the brownstone is dramatized at some point or other. At no point in the novels do we hear that conversation. I think because it would be awful. It would be like being stuck at a table with the world's worst pedant, who Nero Wolfe pretty much is, whether he knows what he's talking about or not. No, I don't think we'd like each other at all. Uh, uh, let's see here. Sean Patrick says, "Hi Steve, do you remember when the first graphic novel came out? If so, what did you think of the concept at the time?" I think that I do. I'm not here. This I'm laying myself open to pretentious dude bros here by saying it, but I remember the earliest ones. Yes, I remember. Um, well, the line that Marvel did. Marvel Comics did an original line of graphic novels that were not in their continuity. They were not ever. They weren't reprinted from anything else. I'd been getting square bound, larger size, higher priced items for decades, but they were reprints. They might have an original thing here or there inside them, but they were mostly reprints of older stuff. And to me, the graphic novel, the real innovation, the thing that caught my attention at the time was that it wasn't, it was all original stuff. And so Marvel graphic Marvel graphic novels number 1, The Death of Captain Marvel, I thought was incredible. And for a while I agonized over, continuity and all that sort of thing, but then I gave up on it. And a lot of those early Marvel graphic novels are incredible. There's a Bill Sienkiewicz thing on Daredevil that is visually just amazing. Just something you couldn't possibly do in a monthly comic. There's P. Craig Russell doing Killraven, a dumb, lame ass character who has never been in the least bit good or interesting except for that one graphic novel. There was P. Craig Russell doing Elric. I remember those, and I liked them very much. Of course, I had to put up with the New Mutants with Chris Claremont, where the artwork was by Bob McLeod, and it was so boring. Bob McLeod is such a boring artist, so static. No no movement at all, even in his action sequences, just completely stick figure static. You combine that with when New Mutants, the graphic novel came out, Claremont was at his most verbose. So characters are talking in full half-page paragraphs of novelistic prose. I had to put up with stuff like that, but in exchange, I got some really good ones. Um, Tolstoy 111 says, "Hi Steve, do you like Limbo by Bernard Wolfe?" Don't know it. Manny says, "Maybe he can install a PC for you so you can become a real streamer." Who is he? Well, it doesn't. I can't have a PC because I don't have a desk. I don't have a desk. I don't have, so I can't have a desktop setup. That reading guy is back. Which translation Plutarch is best for a new reader? Dryden, North, Bernadette, Perrin. Uh, for a new reader, I hate to say this, but there's no alternative. For a new reader, I would suggest the Oxford. Oxford World Classics does most of Plutarch. They do the same thing that everybody else does, which is to chop him up and mismatch things and stuff like that. But their volumes are the most readable, I think, unless you can get used to Dryden. But most people can't. Sean Patrick says, "Steve, do you think garden gnomes are cool or stupid kitsch or somewhere in between?" Uh, does anybody use them anymore? I, I don't have a garden. Having toyed with the idea many many times, I don't have a garden, so I don't know. Are garden gnomes a thing still? Uh, I I can't think that they're stupid. A stupid kitsch, that's pretty severe. Steve Bronstein is here. Hi, Steve. Did you have a longstanding, firmly held opinion or any sort of foundational opinion that you eventually came to recognize was wrong? Oh, yeah, many. Many, many, many. Yeah. Uh, any political held firm political or any sort of foundational opinion. Ask if you were to ask people who know me in real life, the few who are still alive, you would get a universal, an absolutely universal that I was not only strident but boring on the subject of the absolutely unparalleled and unparallelable iniquity of President Nixon. I went on for 50 years saying that he destroyed something intangible but very real. It'll never come back. He was the worst thing that has ever happened to the American political system, and one of the worst things that has ever happened to America. And I often chased that, especially when tipsy, by saying no one could ever do worse. I was dead wrong about that. Wildly wrong about that. So I had no idea. That's all. I didn't think I would be in the 21st century any more than any of us from the Cold War thought we would reach the 21st century. 2026 was the date at the top of the first paragraph of a science fiction novel. Uh, Morgan says, "What do you think of the William Carlos Williams poem, 'This Is Just to Say'? It stinks." California says, "What did you think of Forbidden Truth by Guillaume Dasquet and Jean Buissard?" Boy, this has become a fact boy stream. Why is that? What caused that? That reading guy says, is genius is if genius is not a place, then what then is genius? How many have you met in your life? Now, genius, it's not a place and it's not a thing that you can switch on. It's an accumulation. Genius finds connections, it sees connections, but it needs to be trained on the elements or it can't do anything. I just I'm curious to see if you see what I mean by that, because that is all over Hollywood. That if you give Scarlett Johansson an injection, she will suddenly be able to do differential calculus. Well, differential calculus isn't just sitting there. You need to learn how to do it. If you don't learn how to do it, then you can't do it. Same thing with anything else. Any of these TV shows where a character gets souped up intellect and can suddenly play chess as if it's just waiting there. It's just, I have met a few in my life. The literate Texan is back. Steve, that's the most interesting critique of Flowers for Algernon that I've ever heard. And that reading guy agrees. Well, thank you. I kind of do this for a living. I'm here all week, folks. Cosmic K says, considering recent events in the Middle East, do you think it's fair to blame the British Empire for the Middle East current borders? No, it's not. California says, what is your favorite play / poem by Ben Jonson? The poem To His Dead Son. One of the most moving things that I've ever read. One of the only times that Johnson is actually sincere in anything that he writes. What is this? Bill Whist? Whist. Hi, Steve. Happy to catch a stream. Yes, happy to have you here. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I spotted Penzler's Big Book of Espionage for $2 and grabbed it. Before I watched your channel, my eyes would have passed right over it. Yeah. Oh, a Penzler volume, even in this rare instance, I will say, even for 10 times that amount, still be worth it. Because his anthologies, you will go back and revisit. You will go back and look at them again. Whist says, Dark Star is great, funny. Oh, good. Danger Kid says, I've always felt that Good Will Hunting did a decent job of implying that part of Will's genius was his voracious consumption of knowledge. You got all these books, but they're the wrong books, etc. No. And not only, I'm not even talking about the math stuff. Of course, the thing that got me in Good Will Hunting was the history bunkum. That histories are written in layers, and that when you're at this layer, you'll be dealing with Vickers. But when you're at this layer, you'll be dealing with Bernard Bailyn. And then at this layer, oh my God, that is just so totally wrong. That is just so totally wrong. That is a Hollywood cokehead's idea of what being well-read looks like. I'm not saying that the movie isn't effective, but it is totally fraudulent in that way. It underscores the old maxim that a smart person can accurately simulate being dumb, but a dumb person has no idea how to simulate being smart. None at all. And will never be successful at it. They will never be convincing. A perfect case in point, Lucille Ball, who could often very hilariously imitate being dumb. But there is no example of a smart person who could. That drives me just. Anyway, Morgan says, do you reckon it's easier being in romantic relationships with men or women? I'm the wrong person to ask. I don't understand romantic relationships at all. I don't even know what that means. Romantic relationships strikes me like refrigerator football. I don't see that they go together at all. I don't even know what that is. So I have no idea. I would imagine that for purely pragmatic reasons, it is easier with a man if you're a man than it would be in a woman if you're a man, because you open yourself up to all kinds of complications, right? From unwanted pregnancies to accusations of mistoward conduct or whatnot that won't happen as easily with a man, I would think. Must read more says my grandpa once worked with a genuine physics genius, but every day the guy forgot where the light switches in his own office were and where his car was in the parking lot. Yeah, that is a typical characteristic or caricature of geniuses, that their minds are so abstracted that the practical stuff is really not there anymore. I've often found that it isn't a question of that all the highfalutin stuff has pushed out all the practical stuff. It's that geniuses have a way of associating themselves with people who will take care of the practical stuff so that they don't need to remember where it is anymore. But that wouldn't apply to a light switch in his own office. Becca says, hi, Steve. I recently read a Guardian article about Shiri Hustvedt and wondered if this is a wise use of my time to read her fictions. If they appeal to you, if you try one of them and it appeals to you, they're thin gruel to me. Better off by far to read a Nero Wolfe novel. Read Fer-de-Lance, the first Nero Wolfe novel. I bet you'll love it. ADHD reader says, we all know the best sci-fi film is The Fifth Element. It's pretty good. If you don't, Steve, you don't enjoy it, I guess we can't be friends ever. I'll still forgive you, but hope will be gone. No, is there anybody that doesn't like The Fifth Element? No, I don't know that it's the best one, but it's pretty damn good. Tolstoy 111 says, do you like Dead Poet Society? Can you guess? Take a wild guess. Never could stand it. Pushes the notion that loving a charismatic teacher is the same thing as loving studying literature. Exactly. It has nothing to do with the things that it is claiming to champion. That drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts that continues to be the favorite Hollywood representation of effective teaching. Anyway, Demian says, is it me or is Avengers West Coast a stupid comic? I'm grumbling through an epic collection I borrowed from the library. It's largely stupid, except for the great John Byrne run. I don't know if that's the one you're looking at. I don't know that was in an epic collection. Most of that Avengers West Coast has like 6 epic collections, and it's such a dumb, dirt bog standard average superhero comic that I don't know why or how it got that many issues. But John Byrne went over to it and had an amazing 10 issues, something like that, where the Scarlet Witch goes insane, and it's got Bandito, and it's really, really good. His run on West Coast Avengers is very much worth your time to read, even though it's very predictable. It's just John Byrne. Whenever he goes to any book of any kind, he has the nearest female character go insane, which it says a lot about his dating history, but it's still worth it. But not any of the rest of it. Oh God, no, not any of the rest of it. Hannah's Books is here. Are you Team Emerson or Team Thoreau? I should think this would be self-evident too. I'm of course Team Emerson. Danger Kid is back. Never read Charlie Wilson's War, but I adore the movie. Hoffman is incredible in it. The movie is incredible. Perfect example. Oh my God. I mean, the examples are endless, but it's a perfect example of what I always say, that the movie is always better than the book. California says, thoughts on Octavia Butler, yay or nay? Yay. Oh, the chat jumped. All right, let's try and find it. Where were we here? California is where we were. Oh, there we go. Okay. Aslan says, Steve, I read Ali Al-Awali's biography of Faisal and loved it, although I thought he was too partial for him and too positive in his assessments. What did you think? Well, I wrote a review of it, but I would tend to agree. Yeah, he very much loves his main character, maybe in excess of what the character deserves. Cosmic A says, Steve, why do you think AI uses so much purple prose that rivals Cormac McCarthy? AI doesn't understand anything at all. It doesn't understand anything at all. So it is the equivalent of what I was talking about, where a smart person can imitate a dumb person, but a dumb person can't imitate a smart person. AI is the dumb person. And it is scanned 900 billion words of English prose. So it has some sense that there is such a thing as good, bad, or indifferent writing, but it has no idea what that is. No idea at all. To me, AI writing is easy to spot. I gather that is not a universal trait, and that the teachers have a harder and harder time. Have to employ apps and whatnot. Uh, let's see here. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I spotted a new bird in my yard today, a rose-breasted grosbeak, and it pushed around my tough guy sparrows. They were truly intimidated, and it was satisfying to watch. Wow, that would have been something. My sparrows are not intimidated by anything, not at all. One time, they even gave attitude to a seagull that decided to plop down and figure out what was going on. This thing was enormous. They didn't care at all. Morgan says, for the 1989 Batman film, it is said that Peter O'Toole discussed was considered for the Joker. I think he would have been excellent. Do you? Well, anything would be an improvement over Jack Nicholson in that movie. The Literate Texan is back. This is the best live stream ever. Thanks for doing this, Steve. Are you enjoying it? That reading guy says, hey, fact boy, I know. It's been a theme in this chat, fam. What do you think of Sowerby's monograph about the careers of Sir the Tudor England? Your response must sound like an AI bot. Yeah, and it must go on forever and ever. Becca says Deadwood by Dexter. Oh my God, you're right. Deadwood was his first book. Oh my God, but no, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking of God's Pocket. But you're right. Deadwood was his first book. I completely forgot about that. It's God's Pocket, though. If the Dude Bros ever knew that God's Pocket existed, they would embrace it wholeheartedly. But they don't, thank God. Coldifornia says, have you had the chance to read How to Sell a Genocide, the Media's Complicity and Destruction of Gaza by Adam Johnson? I only asked the dreaded, have you read query since it's a new release? I have read it, yes. And it's loathsome. A loathsome book. M. Francis Clare says, Yahoo, a Stevestream. Yes, indeed. Here we are. Kev Lee says, did you like this vast enterprise by Craig Furman? I loved it. Yes. I see it's being promoted as a revisionist history. Should that concern readers? I know that it's being promoted that way. And, the press release materials are all over that. I didn't see much of that, honestly. I'm right on the footlocker here. The finished copy's right on the footlocker because I'm about to give it a second read and then a review. But I thought it was just really thorough. I mean, if going back to the original sources in order to iron out the actual timeline is revisionist, then we're all in trouble. I loved it. Thought it was really, really good. A whole lot less bloviating than Undaunted Courage, but that would be hard. Andrew says, when you were submitting articles to Amazing Heroes and the Comics Journal, what was your relationship with the staff of Fantasy Graphics? Of Fantagraphics? I don't know what this question is implying. How to put this? None of my pros ever appeared in the Comics Journal, and I never submitted an article. I never pitched an article to Amazing Heroes. There. Shoo. I think I got that through. And I didn't know any of the jerks at Fantagraphics. That reading guy says, Dude Bro authors you like John Barth, William Gaddis, Pynchon too. I guess Pynchon. Yeah, they don't know anything about John Barth. Please tell me they don't know anything about John Barth. I guess they do know about Gaddis. But Pynchon would be the big one. Yeah, I blanked on that completely, but that's what you're here for. Yeah, I blanked on that completely, but yeah, they love Pynchon. They don't get him at all. They don't have any humor at all. None at all. So they don't get a large part of Pynchon, but yeah, they do still embrace him, and I love him. So yeah, that's right. Cosmic Ace says, how do you feel about the Charles III speech in the American Congress? Can't help but feel Queen Victoria would feel disgusted by her descendant subordinating himself to someone like Trump. Yeah, this visit is not over. Horrible things could still happen, but it is already a disaster. I don't know, as I've said many times on my channel, I don't understand why the palace agreed to this. I don't understand it. Nothing good can come of it. I know maybe the thinking in Westminster was, this will help to warm relations. It will win over Trump, but Trump is insane. A whole civilization will die tonight. This man is insane. So there's no winning over his affections. They could change tomorrow. They will change tomorrow. So I don't know why any of this happened. Why put a sick man through transatlantic travel to do whatever he's doing here? I just don't get it. Must Read More says, I'm thinking about getting a desktop. I recently replaced my laptop battery and it's resulted in nothing but trouble. Why not just replace your laptop instead of replacing the battery, for Pete's sake? What are you, 80? That reading guy says, I might try Dryden. I don't want to read a chopped up Plutarch. Well, no, but it's the best game in town. The most readable translations and certainly the best annotated translations are chopped up. Until someone comes along and does a great big volume that is not chopped up and that has footnotes right at the bottom of the page. Stephen Newton says, hi, Steve. This has been my year of DC Comics. I was wondering if you have a view on Absolute Batman. My view is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, that view in the case of the Absolute line for DC is totally in the minority. These things are keeping the comic book industry afloat. They're selling so well. But it, they seem to me to be a tacit admission that really incredible stories cannot be told about these characters, when that's not true. That's not true at all. So it bugs me. Uh, also, the selling point, especially for Absolute Batman, but for all the others as well, the selling points seem to me to be unhealthy. The selling points seem to be, well, over there, the non-Absolute Batman can't maim people, but ours does, happily. Even good people. That seems like a debased thing to sell a book on, to me. J.R.J. Malcolm says, Steve, I think you'd enjoy the works of Dostoevsky, Russian. Okay, I'm praying that what you mean is you think I'd enjoy the works of Dostoevsky in Russian. I'm praying that that is the word that's missing from your message, and not that you're recommending that I try a writer called Dostoevsky. I'm praying that that's the case. Must Read More says, speaking of Nixon, I'm thinking about starting Theodore White's Breach of Faith tonight. You're going to love it. Manny says, was it Homer in the original that opened up reading for you? Was it some translation? It was not a translation. ADHD Reader says, I know barely anything about U.S. politics, but I know Nixon brought Roger Stone and his philosophy on the scene, and the world has never recovered. Well, okay, but Stone was infected by Nixon, which is why he has a gigantic tattoo of Nixon on his back. Nixon was the Fonz et Orgo. He was the wellspring of all the evil that infected everyone around him, and his youngest disciples then are still alive now. And it's nothing. It's nothing at all. I would, if you'd gone back to the ideologue Steve, 1970, 1981, 1982, the one who was ranting endlessly about Nixon, even if you had convinced me that maybe someone could come along who would be worse than Nixon, I would say, all right, they'd be 5% worse. Not 1,000 times worse. I would have said, no, this is not possible for it to be 1,000 times worse. Tolstoy 111 says 2026 is the year of the Martian Chronicles ends. SPQR Romantic says, we know your thoughts on Dryden in general and doubly so for Ovid, but how is his metamorphoses? Is it more Dryden than Ovid? Everything that Dryden did was more Dryden than the person that he translated. That's the kind of the glory of it. Morgan says, who do you think was fundamentally smarter, von Neumann or Newton? What on earth is going on with this live stream? Newton. Cosmic A says, do you have any strategies for dealing with writer's block when writing fiction? There's no such thing. So there you go. It's easy enough to have strategies for dealing with something that does not exist. There's no such thing as writer's block. What does that mean? What does it mean? Writers don't like to write. That's what makes them writers. That's their foremost characteristic. They are the people who least want to write. But your neurological connections to your hand are unimpeded. Your eyes still work. Your paper is still there. You can still write. You can make yourself do it. So there's no such thing as writer's block. It's just Literary Wanderer says, can you recommend a book or books on the history of the Supreme Court, or just important books to understand how it works? Well, not in the present tense, because it's the Trump court now. So works in the present tense means nothing. There are no books on the Trump court. There are lots and lots of great books on the court when it was the head of an independent arm of government. It isn't anymore. So, Bob Woodward's The Brethren is a really good example, or a book called The Seven or The Nine is a really good example. These are books that, overviews that are interesting to read, but as long as you understand that you're reading about something that doesn't exist and is never going to exist again. You're reading about the American Whig Party, I guess. Uh, Noah says, how do I do activities outside of work that use my brain when I feel like garbage after using my brain all day at work? Yeah, yeah, a big issue for all you people who work all day long. I can't imagine it. I just can't imagine it. I I know some people, excuse me, who use the expedient of a some sort of decompressing relaxation routine immediately after work in order to clear their mind for turning to something else at the end of the day. I don't know how well those work. It really gets to me to think of it. I don't have any strategies that I know will work or even have a chance. That reading guy says, I know what you mean about genius in body and soul. Claude is a talent for the piano, but he has to work enormously hard to become a genius at his craft. Talent only gets you started along the path. Right. Body and soul is a perfect example. Claude is a genius. He is a musical genius. And when he learns the craft, he can then make leaps. He can make jumps that people without genius can't make. And then he needs to start learning again. And then he can make another jump that people without genius can't make, can't even see that there's a jump there to be made. But it doesn't come from nothing. It doesn't come from nowhere. Conroy does that really well. Morgan says, and how highly would you rank Claude Shannon's genius? I wasn't aware that we were ranking these things. The chat jumped again. Sorry about this. Let's see here. We were at Claude Shannon, whatever that was. Good, a lot of comments here. There we go. Jimbo says, "Hi Steve, just wondering if such a well-read person such as yourself can't tell the difference between AI written books and human written books. What hope do the rest of us have?" Well, I can tell the difference. Usually, I can't tell the difference. I bemoan it in my videos. I say, "Well, you can never be 100% sure," but when I'm actually reading, I know. I've never yet had a case where that wasn't true. AI has some very, very predictable misunderstandings of what prose should be, and they sing right out. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I've always been proud of having Sicilian heritage. I started around insufferably during the Godfather years. Now reading Sicilian history, I learn might be Greek or 100 other ethnicities. That you might be Greek or 100 other ethnicities. Well, if you're Greek, that's a lot of starting around too. Aslan said, I lived in Sicily for a while, and in Taormina, and I I know very well the pride that you're talking about. I encountered it all the time. Aslan says, I love Dead Poet Society when I was watching it. Then the movie ended. I took a step back and thought, that's it? That's the message of the movie? I know. Thoroughly unsatisfying. That reading guy says, so that, I mean, as a movie about teaching, about the glory of teaching, it fails completely. Just completely. When I was watching it and rewatching it, I was always thinking about that great old show, The Corn is Green. It was a black and white movie with Betty Davis, and then it had a color remake that was much better with Katharine Hepburn. Much better. The whole idea of teaching, much better. That reading guy says, so that is why you have a surly houseboy. He does all the brunt work while you are tending to your hack genius and ability to write and research serial killers. And you should all have one. Morgan says, what was the most devastating thing you ever saw in person? Cruelty to animals. As a broad heading, there are examples, specific examples. There were a couple that I couldn't do anything about. Cruelty to dogs that I couldn't do anything about because I was in the conveyance that was moving. I could see it, but I couldn't do anything, couldn't stop it. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I was at the library looking at books and I wondered why some publishers put the author's last name on the spine, sometimes omit their first. They even do it with authors who are barely known. Yeah, it's entirely up to their design team, whatever they feel like doing. Whatever. Sometimes houses will have long traditions on even a subject as silly as that. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything more profound than that guides it. That reading guy says, "How will AI take over the world if I can't understand anything? If it can't understand anything, let alone take over our jobs?" Well, that's the scary part. That's the scary part. Look at a video, a little video clip that has been entirely made by AI. For instance, ask an AI, uh, create a video of a man chopping a tree down. The first 6 or 7 attempts that any program makes will be horrifying, not because they are poor, but because of the fundamental things they don't understand. Now imagine that kind of fundamental misunderstanding, operating on your heart or your kidneys. That the fact that it doesn't understand anything is terrifying. The terrifying part about it taking over the world. Aslan says, "AI writing is pretty easy to identify for now." Yeah, the for now is important. Tolstoy 111 says, "The perfect riposte to Dead Poet Society, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie." Another perfect example. Yeah, I said the corn is green, but The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie is another perfect example. And besides, nobody knows the corn is green anymore. I love that movie so much, especially the Katharine Hepburn remake. I love it so much. I love it so much. Where the boy, the miner that she has, the miner, those of you who have your minds in the gutter. She is taken in and cleaned up and started to teach. At the moment when he looks around and says, "This, all this," he's pointing to the books. "You did all this so you'd have someone to talk to." Uh, anyway, let's see here. Uh, Becca says, "Your mention of Jordan Peterson reminded me of all the recent rise of fame of certain Professor Zhang." I know. It's like we didn't learn anything. Is it just me, or do you also see a parallel between these people, particularly their opportunism? They're the same person, basically, the same person. Manny says, "I finished Richard J. Evans' last Third Reich book recently, and sheesh, I'm glad I'm done with it, but it was a brilliant trilogy, most gripping reading." Yeah, it's amazing. You definitely, I definitely know what you mean. You're definitely happy to walk out back into the sunlight again, but it is brilliant. I felt the same way. Like, for instance, 20 years ago, I reread the Gulag Archipelago, and it's brilliant all the way through. But God, you can't wait to get back out and to breathe the clean air again. Uh, 118 says, "Can you suggest some authors whose writing style is like Oscar Wilde's poetic prose type?" I would need more examples on that. I'd need more specifics, and it wouldn't be for a live stream anyway. Cosmic A says, "Why do you think so many Americans rely on streamers for their political views? Do you think this will end, or is it a harbinger for the even dumber and worse political climate?" It is a harbinger, would be a harbinger for an even dumber and worse political climate where nobody knows anything except what they are told by Asmongold, the gold standard of stupidity. So it would be that. But I don't mean to be alarmist here, but I honestly don't think it's going to come to that. I honestly don't see human civilization surviving Donald Trump. I honestly don't see that. Unless the military refuses to obey his order when it comes, because I think that order is going to come. Um, but the military has not refused his orders. They have shot civilians in the street. They are building concentration camps with incinerators on American soil. So I don't see them disobeying that, except that obeying that order would mean you don't have a home to go back to at the end of the day. Uh, but anyway, that reading guy says, "Do you recommend God's Pocket? Should we read it for Dude Brovember?" I do recommend God's Pocket. It is amazing. Uh, but Dude Brovember would be a bad idea. I don't. Dude Brovember might put this channel on the radar of bigger channels, and I don't want that. This channel's already too big. ADHD reader says, "Wait, if Philip Seymour Hoffman was in God's Pocket, what does that make him a dude, bro? We can't sully his memory like that." No, he was in Charlie Wilson's War. God's Pocket's never been filmed. Edward Gibbons says, "Hi, Steve. Did you see Francois Ozon's adaptation of The Stranger?" Are you joking? Are you new? You must be new to the channel. I I talked about it endlessly months and months ago. I talked about it endlessly. And I mentioned that I was watching it on endless repeat. A lot of people, a lot of watchers of this channel were really worried about me because it's a black and white foreign film by a French author, a philosopher. People were worried that I'd lost my mind because I loved it so much that I kept watching it over and over and over again. So yes, I have seen it many, many, many times. I'd be willing to bet I've watched it more times than anybody. I know you hate Camus and arty French films, but I wondered if Marisol's sexiness it seduced you. I saw it last week and adored it. Yeah, I loved the whole thing. I thought it was absolutely incredible. Just incredible. Even the tiny vestiges of, uh, what we might call woke, it I didn't mind them at all. I thought it was just an amazing feat of just an amazing visual feat. I loved it. I had the screener for it. I've never seen it on the big screen. I will never see it in a movie theater, but I watched that screener endlessly, and I would talk about it all the time on this channel, and people worried because I don't like artsy fartsy French films, and I don't like philosophers, and I don't like black and white movies. I don't like movies without giant killer sharks, and yet I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was so happy to see the. Do I have it within reach? The the latest TLS has a review of it. The reviewer loved it. Uh, uh, Mr. Francis Clare says, "What is the female equivalent to Dude Bro, and what do they read?" Well, there's no exact equivalent. No, because a hallmark of Dude Bro is misogyny. It's, as I said in my Seven Sins of Dude Bro literature, that is absolutely foundational to Dude Bro is a hatred of women, and women don't do anything like that. Generally speaking, they don't do anything like that. So there's no actual equivalent. There's only a spiritual equivalent. The spiritual equivalent would be things like Emily Henry, but nowhere near as toxic. Nowhere near as toxic. Uh, John O'Connell says, "I just rewatched Network. The movie was amazingly prescient." Morgan says, "Do you think Ingmar Bergman made good films? Directors don't matter." Steve Bronstein says, "Do you think there's a technique or approach to getting someone to reconsider an emotionally entrenched belief or opinion without relying on facts or data?" Facts and data will never do it. There are ways to do it depending on the person. And a lot of it would depend on how well you know them. I have found in my own, a very generalized experience that the way to do it with the demographic that I know the best, young men between the ages of 18 and say 25 or 30, the best way for them, um, not really to manipulate them, but to get them to open their eyes, is to make them realize that the position that they're holding is mockable. Now, the reason that it's mockable is because it's not based on facts or data, but you don't have to start with that. You don't have to lead with that because that's just going to cause them to go straight to Reddit for alternate facts and alternate data. It's the mockability that is the thing. But that will change from audience to audience. I don't have any general idea. No. Uh, XJ says, "Steve, what is your view of?" Okay. Okay. All right. All right. We've got way too many of these things in this Steve stream. You could just assume that a 19th century French historical novel that has never been translated, I will probably not have an opinion on. Sean Patrick says, "Steve, you've mentioned Vonnegut now and then, but what is your overall view of his writing? It stinks." I have a feeling you're going to say, What do you think I think of Vonnegut?" Well, I could do that. Yeah, he stinks. He absolutely stinks. He's awful. He never wrote a single good book, a single good sentence, a single good paragraph in his entire career, and should be completely ignored. Not incorporated into some sort of ladder of growing readerly sophistication. So I know he's not good, but a 13-year-old boy is going to want to read Cat's Cradle. No, he should be ignored. He should be completely ignored. Some Okie Dude is here. What are we going to disagree with? He even blurbed one of Crime and Punishment's copies. Come on. Yes, I am blurbed on Crime and Punishment. It's true. Stephen Newton says all of Europe seems to be stepping away from the US in the last few months. Italy, the latest with their MP using Trump's attack on the Pope to disconnect with America. Well, yes, Meloni is using those attacks for the rhetoric of disconnecting with America. But the real reason is the fundamental reason that runs the whole world, which is that we cannot be trusted in commercial matters. We cannot be trusted with trade deals or trade understandings of any kind at all. Even the slightest, most peremptory provisional thing, we cannot be trusted at all because we are run by a madman and a personality cult. So there are no independent agencies. There are no independent people who can say, well, I know the noises that are coming from the White House, but we'll do this. No, no. The madman runs everything, thinks he knows better than economists, and has ruined America's reputation with its former allies, ruined them. It would take 5 or 6 consecutive good administrations to rebuild those relationships, and instead there aren't going to be any. So, yeah, Some Okie Dude is back. Trump's definitely the worst president of my life. He's the worst president of all time, and also one of the worst world leaders ever, any time period, any nation. Uh, ADHD says, but has he read War and Peace? Okay, don't know what that's about. Edward Gibbons says, do you have a favorite poem by Robert Browning? Mine is Sordello. Let's just say mine is Sordello too, so we can. That reading guy says, how in the world do you get somebody who's reluctant about reading to read and love Homer in the original? Your background with the Jesuits sounds like something from legend. It wasn't them. It was a teacher. I had one teacher, one amazing teacher. At first, I've had other good teachers, but I had one amazing one. Uh, some Okie Dude says Child Roland for me. Oh, how did I know that was coming? M. Francis Clare says, did the younger ranting Steve attend or participate in political or social protests? No, because they're worthless. But he wrote a lot. He wrote a lot on the subject. Must Read More says, what do you think of Jimmy Carter's memoirs and diaries? Is there any real meat there? I didn't find any. Morgan says, did you think of Philip Seymour Hoffman was a great actor? I feel like he was the best of my generation, maybe. He was really, really good. Yeah. Andrew says, I'm enjoying Spitz's Beatles biography after your recommendation. Oddly, the page count is longer than his new Stones book. Yeah, I didn't understand the Stones book. And I mean, the first explanation that I had for why it is shorter is that he's basically discounting the last 40 years. Which is totally valid, uh, but a little odd, since the Stones are still touring. but I'm glad you're liking it. Peyton says, "Hi, Steve. Do you believe the story of the Virgin Mary and Jesus was stolen and whitewashed from the Egyptian story of Isis and Horus? Not so much stolen. No, that's not really. I don't think that's really how that works. But adapted, definitely adapted. Not necessarily from Isis and Horus, but there are other examples, lots and lots of them. I would think my own idea is that it more readily would come from the Greek, specifically, Dionysus, than it would come from ancient Egypt. But it could have been any. Stories like that were all over the ancient world. Uh, Aslan says, between Newton and Einstein, who was the bigger genius? I would say Newton. Edward Gibbons says, what do you think of T.S. Eliot's nonfiction? It's bearable. It's bearable. It's not good. Stephen Bronstein says, is Paolo Zampoli Melania's previous owner? Could very well be. Tolstoy 111 says, I just noticed that your thumbnail for this is the Mask of Mandragora TARDIS set. Well, specifically the Fourth Doctor. Oh, Peyton was next, but the chat jumped. All right, let's find him. The Mask of Mandragora. Let's see here. God help us. Sorry about this. I wish that there we go. I ordered a copy of Knuffle Bunny after watching your video. I also want to buy a stuffed animal of Knuffle Bunny and put it in the dryer for my niece to find after the book. Well, yes, and you'll like the second book, but just as I mentioned in the video, be prepared. You're going to bawl your eyes out at the third book. In a good way. But still. Cosmic A says, why do you think America has such an obesity problem? Because the stuff is everywhere. Money is the reason, because the people who push this stuff have it everywhere. It's almost impossible to avoid. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I saw part of a Pink Panther movie where Peter Sellers and his employee Kato battled each other throughout Sellers' apartment. I pictured you and your surly houseboy doing that, and it cracked me up. Those are amazing sequences. Just amazing. Where are you, my little yellow friend? I love it where they are blasting through walls. Haven't been able to really cotton any visitor here to Hyde Cottage to any gimmick from the Pink Panther, any of them, any of the inspired ones. The fights with Kato are inspired. The light bulb scene, absolutely inspired physical comedy. But I've never been able to get a guest to really get them. I don't know why that is. They get Austin Powers, but they don't get that. Must Read More says, I recently passed over a copy of John Flynn's book on the Roosevelt myth. Was that a good or a bad choice on my part? It was a good choice to pass over it. You have way too many better things you could be reading. Megan says, can you put on an English accent? I can indeed. Kay Napolo says, have you read any nonfiction releases this year that you would strongly recommend as a must read on any given subject? We are on the doorstep of the halfway mark of this year, and the number of must reads. No, no. That reading guy says, I think you're a fan of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. I am indeed. What would you consider his best book? Well, naturally, I'm going to say The Wizard of the Crow, the huge one. Naturally, I'm going to say that because I am, as Alex Serrando used to say, a size queen. M. Francis Clare says, AI equals can always tell you everything you need to know about X, Y, and Z. Ugh, that phrase. Pat Lester says, you said you remember the blatant corruption of Nixon in the 70s, but I thought I'd sworn you say you were 28 years old. Be honest, you never lived during that time. You're right. I meant my grandfather's memoirs of that time, obviously. RJ says, do you enjoy any mid to late 20th century composers? No. Well, James Horner. Does that count? James Horner. Yeah, very much so. ADHD reader says, AI writing jumps at you after a while, repeated sentences and expressions, over reliance on certain words, all the hallmarks of something that would have been caught by a good editor. You'd like to hope so. Yeah. The Shy Girl controversy proves that that is not the case. Not always, but you'd like to hope so. Must Read More says, I've been watching Soviet Sherlock Holmes movies. Sometimes the AI translations are horrendously, hilariously bad. Why would you be watching Soviet Sherlock Holmes movies? M. Francis Clare says, AI loves the M dash. Yeah, that bothers me because I love the M dash too. And I'm now training myself just not to use it. I do realize, I've realized for the longest time, M dashes exist because of computers. So the whole time I've been writing on a computer, I have realized for the longest time they are lazy. There's always a better, crisper construction. Now I'm training myself just not to use them. Cosmic A says, I've heard many people say Vienna is beautiful. Would you agree when you went there? Well, when I went there, but that was a long time ago. Look on YouTube now, it doesn't look beautiful. Danger Kid says, Steve, have you ever seen the old British TV show The Sandbaggers? It's a Cold War spy drama. I'm rewatching it, and the writing is just incredible. I don't know it at all. Medieval Priest says, since you feel so strongly on the issue of animal cruelty, do you appreciate the works of Peter Singer? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have been watching Animal Liberation, and the heft of its arguments get misconstrued for 50 years. Tolstoy 111 says the funniest irony in DPS is that they would have learned more from the book he has them rip at the start than they ever do from him. Oh, Dead Poet Society. Right. Okay. Yeah, he has them tear apart a book. Anyway, Aslan says, I should have learned a skill with my hands. My job is definitely replaced by AI at some point. Yeah, skilled manual labor, people who do learn it always defend it that way. They always say a carpenter will never want for work. Let's see here. James Rucala is here. Please rank Newton, von Neumann, and a grizzly bear in the Amazon electric rice cooker in terms of intelligence, usefulness, and sexiness. Frida, what are you doing? Come here. Don't go down there. You can't get back up. Come here. Come here. Come here. All right, just stand there then. Aslan says, Steve, what is your favorite movie and book about teaching? What do you think about Dangerous Minds? Oh, God. No offense to Ivan Sergey, but favorite book. Well, my favorite movie about teaching is probably The Corn is Green. Probably that is the case. And book, I don't know. I have so many to choose from. ADHD reader says Asmongold needs to go on a hike. That might give him a new perspective. That guy needs to get off his computer. Why would he get off his computer when it's made him a multimillionaire? Being aggressively, stupidly uninformed about literally everything. And it's the public embraces it. M. Francis McClare says recent work changes out of tech market to be happier have been editing slash copy editing college writers and teachers advanced English lit to middle school. Okay, I'm so poor, never been happier. I love it. Okay. Well, the I love it part sounds really good. I didn't understand what it is that you love, but Medieval Priest is back. What do you think persevering through extremely bleak works like Gulag Archipelago give you? Is it a radically different worldview, empathy, or just a newfound appreciation for your own freedom? Well, all of the above. And also, I know from a tiny bit of personal experience how hard it is to land that plane. So it's amazing to watch it. It's amazing to watch that kind of virtuosity. That reading guy says, "Dude, Brovember is a great idea if it brings a larger young male audience to your channel. Who else is going to save them?" I don't want a bigger channel. I want a smaller channel. So, Sean Patrick says, "Steve, is it correct that prior to bound and print and paper books, reading was done on what was basically scrolls that had to be a major hassle?" Well, for you're skipping 1,000 years. There were 1,000 years in between scrolls and print and paper books. There were um, vellum manuscripts. They weren't scrolls, although scrolls weren't the hassle that you think they were. Not really. Uh, every avid reader always found a way to make any of these things work. The 1,000 years that you're skipping was a time when reading was not common. Uh, and and so I would say that that was probably the least convenient time. If you were a shopkeep's assistant in ancient Rome, and you decided to go to the street of the booksellers, and you had a couple of coins to spend, you could find a lot. And you could uh, put them in a pile back in your room, in your insula, or you could wait until, look at the local trash heap or a good swap and find a nice honeycomb case for them. They had tags at the end, so you knew what they were. It, they weren't searchable. Nothing is as convenient. Nothing is as convenient as this. Absolutely nothing. But still, not the hassle that you would think. Uh, Peyton says, "Do you like the movie Kings of Summer? I saw it recently and really liked it. It's not ringing a bell, but it should. I think it should." Damien says, "God's Pocket was filmed in 2014. I picked up the Blu-ray for $1. Oh, no way. Who's in it? No way." Uh, Tolstoy 111 says, "Ingmar Bergman was a writer first." Aslan says, "The whole Professor Zhang thing reminds me of Gödel Escher Bach book." I know. He's basically the living version of Gödel Escher Bach. Kane Apollo says, "I know you will say I just need willpower, but I've been caught up in my Kindle's daily reading tracker. I'm reading Chubb's Dante in physical form and poetry on the Kindle just to keep daily score." I don't know what daily score is in this instance. Uh, ADHD reader says, "I've heard people call Lois McMaster-Bujold a misogynist. Seems like a hell of a stretch, but the guys do love her." Yeah, that doesn't make the yeah, I know it is a bit of a stretch. I can kind of see what they might be referring to in some of her books, but it doesn't fly. Peyton says, "What do you think of The View? How would you cast the panel?" I would cast the panel from BookTube. I know you're expecting that, but I would. I would cast the panel from BookTube. I would have 4 people from BookTube and a rotating 5th person to shake things up. Leo Percara says, "Hello, Steve. Of all the super prolific authors you've read, who's your favorite and who is the most good books?" Actually, I would probably give the Doff of the Hat well, I'm assuming you mean book authors. I was well, I oh god. I was gonna say the Toff, the author of the Toff, who is that is escaping me. Who did those books? Uh, uh, you're probably screaming the name. John Creasy, who did a million Toff adventures. I was going to say that because those books are remarkably good as cheesy melodrama, as cheesy enjoyment. They are remarkably consistently good, and there are a million of them. But I was thinking about this earlier today. I think the author, if we go just by words, just by prose, wherever you find it, whether it's in serialization or magazines or books or comic books, I think the author whose words I have read the most out of all the authors in the world is Gardner Fox. So, and he's pretty consistently good. Uh, Jenna Jabel says my very abusive ex's favorite author was Vonnegut. Let's score another one for Vonnegut. I tell you, that reading guy says if a 13-year-old boy shouldn't read Vonnegut, who should he read? I would give him Batman Year One. Uh, I would dare him not to end up getting hooked by the Red Badge of Courage. I would dare him not to do that. I would find out what he already likes to read. I guarantee it'll be One Piece, and ask him to teach me how to like it. Don't just tell me what you think is cool. Tell me why you think it's cool. Get him to analyze something he already likes. All of that stuff will work better than giving him crap. So, Sean Patrick says, Steve, do you think the modern industry of dog breeding and the craze of purebreds has done more harm than good for canines? Well, there is no craze for purebreds now. There's only one kind of dog you can get now anywhere, and that are these doodle things. Something doodle. Frida and I have, on a first name basis, so to speak, with probably 100 dogs in the immediate neighborhood. 90 of them are doodles of some kind or other. They're everywhere. And nobody has any idea what that will do long term to those dogs. Nobody has any idea what that would be. Uh, I say, well, you're not asking what I want you to do, but I say that if you're worried about that, if you're worried about breeding problems in your dog or harm for the canines or anything like that, then adopt a pit bull. You'd be fine. Their DNA is as solid as it gets. XJ says, how about J.M. Leclerc as an author? I'm about to read The Prospector. Don't. Just don't. Why are you about to read The Prospector? Why? Why are you about to do that? Have you read The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by John le Carré? Have you read Housekeeping by Marilyn Robinson? Colst says, Steve, what is your assessment of Lucia Berlin's A Manual for Cleaning Women? I read that thing when everybody was talking about it. I did not see the appeal at all. It's so anemic. Becca says, which Ethiopian novelist currently writing in English do you recommend? None. Aslan says, I just started laughing when Trump said that the Pope was very bad on crime. It was so ridiculous. I could just laugh. I know it's really, really, there isn't much of a response other than this is just so absurd that for my own benefit, my own mental health, all I can do is just laugh at this. It is just so patently ridiculous. It not as evil and pointedly wicked as J.D. Vance saying that the Pope needs to watch himself very carefully when he talks about theology. It wasn't as wicked as that. That's from the Peter Thiel world of I know better about every subject than anyone does on any subject. Trump's was just really stupid. Oh, the chat jumped again. We were at Manny. Sorry about this, people. Sorry, fam. We were at Manny. God help us. Look at all these comments. There we go. Do you like Mahler? To quote from Frasier, does anybody? I've been having his second and fourth symphonies on repeat this month. Well, I'm glad you're liking them. ADHD reader says, wasn't God's Pocket made with John Turturro? I don't believe it ever was filmed. Danger Kid says, I just finished reading Murakami's nonfiction book on the Tokyo subway sarin attacks underground. Is it crazy to say I think he's better at nonfiction writer? No, he is better at nonfiction. Yeah, mainly because he's strongly edited in nonfiction. Medieval Priest says, you are right in your estimation that it might take multiple administrations to rebuild. People don't seem to realize the dangerous ripple effects of the Trump government. Yeah, and there won't be multiple administrations to do it. So this is the new reality. This is the way it's going to stay. It would take multiple Biden-style administrations to fix, but it won't get fixed. Hega Sanders says, I like Newton's writing more, too. Isaac Newton, are we talking about here? Sean Patrick says, Steve, why do you think so many writers go by their initials as their name? It seems pretentious, but I love plenty of writers who do it. It does seem pretentious. I don't really know why. I've never really understood that. California says, random aside, I have always hated the stereotype that the French are a bunch of sissies. I don't know very many armies that could have withstood Verdun. Yeah, yeah, it's got to be hard, for just your average Frenchman to realize to see that resorted to so many times. I just it always bothers me. Like I remember a comic book called The Ultimates, kind of uh, badass writers on cocaine version of the Avengers, and at one point, the weird badass Captain America it, it kicks apart a whole bunch of French MPs and points to the A on his cowl's mask and says he's scorning at them for the idea that he would surrender, and he says, "Do you think this means French?" And I, yeah, I think I agree. I hate the stereotype as well. Not the least of which because America wouldn't exist if it weren't for Count Rochambeau. America wouldn't exist. So, uh, but anyway, Morgan says, would Bill Nye make a good Doctor Who? Oh, an excellent one. He'd make an excellent Doctor. It'll never happen, but he would make an excellent Doctor. Coldifornia says, what is your favorite episode of Doctor Who post 2005? Favorite single episode would be a little tough for me to pick. I could do moments till the cows come home. Guests who come here are subjected to a long string of moments, but an episode that would be tougher. That would be tougher. I mean, the Peter Capaldi regeneration sequence. Oh, I love it so much. I make guests watch it even though they're not Whovians. They don't know anything about it and they don't know that it's good. I still make them watch it because I love it so much. Silly old universe. The more I save it, the more it needs saving. uh, Medieval Priest says, who is your favorite Japanese author of the last 100, 120 years? Mine is Soseki. Mine would be Tanizaki, but Soseki is really good. That reading guy says, what do you think of people who taking Ozempic? Well, we already know they're lazy, right? If they weren't lazy, they wouldn't even think about taking Ozempic. So we already know that about them. They're also, as most lazy people are, completely short-sighted. There is no wonder drug. There never has been a wonder drug. Look at the studies of what Ozempic is doing to your body, what it's doing to your bone density, among every other thing. There is no such thing as a wonder drug. So, in addition to being lazy, they're also kind of dumb. Aslan says, Steve, I wonder what you think about the two Catos of ancient Rome. Do you indeed? Excuse me. I like one of them and I don't like the other. Morgan says, can you offer up some of that English accent? Well, first of all, there are 10 or 20 English accents. The one that I have on my mind right now is the accent of King Charles, a very, very particular accent that every single person coming onto the cast of The Crown had to try and learn. The ultimate weird, posh accent. But there are all kinds of them. I'm not very good at any of them. Hegasander says, you said the reason for the US obesity is money. Right. But European countries also had money. No, and English had money, but they are only now getting obese. I suggest it's cultural too, or do you disagree? No, what I meant is money in culture. What I meant is that, I mean, I'm not talking about the poverty of the country. I'm talking about the fact that the people who want this obesity have huge amounts of money behind them and can get huge amounts of money from a populace that's been habituated. It's amazing to me the change that you feel the minute you go, at least in the past, the minute you went to a non-American country. One of the biggest changes that you feel right away is in diet. It's just amazing. I was with friends when they would experience it, and they would all comment on it. That I don't understand. I had a normal supper, and it's 12 hours later, and I'm not hungry at all. What's going on here? And I would try to tell them it's because you ate real food. That's why you are hungry now. Uh, Believe in Yourself says, Steve, what are your thoughts on Flowers for Algernon? Wait a minute. We started with Flowers for Algernon an hour ago. Did we not? Uh, I thought we did. I think it's hokey. I went through like an hour talking about Flowers for Algernon. I don't that be so that maybe you might be joking. Morgan says, are you a fan of Maurice Ravel? Not particularly, no. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I got a trove of P.D. James books super cheap at your recommendation. I've never read a single word of her, but I'm about to dive in. I think you'll find them really good. They are not cheap, fold the spine, toss them away when you're done mysteries. Not at all. They are as close as mysteries get to literature by a wide margin. There's almost nobody that even comes close aside from what she was doing with the mystery novel, with the prose in a mystery novel, is almost unrivaled. I I don't know that it was a conscious plan. I don't think she could have written anything different. But they're amazing. Just don't expect if you like me, if you do, popcorn murder mysteries and you mow one down, you toss it off and you start another one, that's not what you're about to dive into at all. These are very different from that. I fell in love with them when I would read them and reread them. I fell in love with them, just kept getting them in different editions. I hated the mass markets that came out in the 90s, but I bought them anyway, because I had read my old ones to death. The kind of very sad thing, kind of very sad eventuality that you get if you are a pen for hire, if you're a working freelancer. Actually happened to me with PD James. I was reading her novels, I was loving them, I was carrying them with me all over the place, and eventually, down the line, totally unexpectedly, I wrote her obituary for the Washington Post. It's not anything you wanna do when you're a writer. You don't ever it seems to me I don't ever get to write I never got to write the obituaries of people that I wanted to write the obituary of. Hannah's Books is here. M dashes exist because of Emily Dickinson. Hannah made it funny. Turns out she's just as successful as that as Sam Sachs of the Wall Street Journal. Peyton says, "Do you think Robert Pattinson and Zendaya are good actors?" Yes, very much so. What did you think of the movie The Drama? I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, they're really, really good, especially when they're given worthwhile material. But the state of Hollywood is that the Hollywood's going to dangle generational wealth. They're going to dangle $100 million at you for stuff that isn't good, for stuff that anybody could do, and that I think dilutes the product. In that sense, I am always disappointed when somebody makes that decision. I was disappointed when Zendaya signed on for the Dune movies. I was very disappointed when Pattinson took the role of Batman, something that doesn't suit him at all, not at all. And predictably, she's terrible in Dune, and he's terrible in Batman. I think with them, you can tell when it just isn't right to do. That reading guy's back. I started reading The Dispossessed out of spite because the next time I connect my Kobo to the internet, its cover will change into something ugly. Well, it's good that you stay motivated. Anyway, Hayden King is here. Hey, Steve, thank you for the email. Sorry mine was so long. It's the only reason that it took me like forever and ever to respond is that you sent me a 5,000 word email. It wasn't anything against the email or against you. It was just that isn't what email's for. This chat is full of people who can tell you that I am not a shy email correspondent. You will be hearing from me forever, but not dissertations. It won't work there. Stephen Newton says, if we must talk about teaching in movies, why is no one talking about Goodbye, Mr. Chips? Again, I'm assuming that you're talking about the remake. So not Robert Domat, but Peter O'Toole. But I don't think it's about a lot. I don't think it doesn't cover the electricity of teaching the way The Corn is Green or The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie does, because the students just come and go. Chip says that himself. They're never individuated. We never really see them learn anything. They might learn about him. They might learn about reality a little. I love it, but it's not the same kind of movie about education that I was thinking of. Miss Claire M. Francis Clare says, clarification, I have dropped slaving for technology core. Okay. Okay. Hayden King says, I got John Haywood's Making of the Middle Ages. Which do you prefer, early, high, or late Middle Ages? You can't guess? No? You can't guess? Well, let's just say late. Uh, M. Francis Clare says, clarification, part two, I've been dabbling in editing and copywriting and teaching Brit Lit for the okay. You should stop with the clarifications. You should type something, and you can't compose your autobiography in the chat. I'm not going to be following. I'm not going to remembering part 20 or part 18 or whatever. That reading guy says, Oh, right. You got to stop hitting enter, is what he's saying, right? Manny says the Gulag Archipelago has been sitting on my shelf for three very gloomy looking Russian volumes for a while now. Maybe I'll get to them after clearing my mind with some trollop. They're pretty grim. They're pretty grim. And Must Read More says, I never got around to reading Godel Box. I sold it to help pay for a camera lens. The camera lens had more literary value. Aslan says, I think one good thing about AI is the possibility to translate stuff that would not be translated otherwise. A lot of classical Arabic literature is not translated in English at all, for example. Yeah, but how reliable would AI be? Wouldn't you still need a human involved? That reading guy says, I'll read the Gulag Archipelago when I'm in my 50s and begin studying the literature around World War II. Yeah, yeah, right. Because if you pull, the top drawer on your desk open, you will find the binding contract that says that you are guaranteed your 50s, right? You'll find that. Just check. I think it's on page 2. It's all but signed, so nothing can happen. I mean, it's a contract for Pete's sake. So, you are going to get your 50s, and you're gonna be compos mentis. The world isn't gonna be a nuclear ash. You're not gonna have an aneurysm. It's all in the contract. It's right there. I think it's in the top drawer. Just check for page 2. Medieval Priest says, if you don't mind me asking, Steve, were your parents voracious readers as well? Well, my father was a reader, but I didn't know him very well. Miss Saint Ma was not a reader. No, she said she was saving her eyes. I'm saving my eyes. And towards the end of her life, I used to joke with her. I used to say, well, what are you saving them for, Ma? The organ donation bank? And she would say, that's your mother you're talking to. She carried a book with her always, but it was for fending off bees. Her bee book was always with her, but it was for fending off bees. She didn't actually read it. She would stare out the window of a bus rather than open her bee book. Moth says, have you had a chance to check out the season 4 teaser for Strange New Worlds? Well, I have a screener for 3 or 4 episodes. I just haven't got around to watching it. I don't need the teaser. I have the episodes. I haven't got around to watching them yet. M. Francis Clare says, clarification. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. XJ says, Steve, what's your favorite Barry Unsworth? I like Ruby in her naval and morality play. I like the one about the Trojan War, rather predictably. What was that one called? The one about the first one about the Trojan War. What was that one called? I had the iPad here a minute ago. Did it have kings in the title? I'm drawing a blank on it. A morality play is really good too, though. Excuse me. And the chat jumped right then, so we can go back to morality play. But we do have to start to wrap this up, right? We'll go to 10 past the hour. Excuse me. So many comments here. Good Lord. You people are so much fun. We can just come and chat. That is just so much fun. Cosmic Ace, there we go. Do you like the silly Joker from the Silver Age Batman comics or the darker one from the Golden Age and recent Batman comics? Of course, the sillier one. The sillier one still wanted to kill people. But I like the Silver Age Batman and the Silver Age Joker. This business where everyone is out psychodramaing everyone else and everything has to be more dramatic than the last. That is the Stan Lee virus. I'm not a big fan. That reading guy says, I had to read The Red Badge of Courage in 11th grade, and my class barely could understand it. I loved it, but I didn't really get it either. I now love it. My class could barely understand it is the fault of your teacher, right? Colombian Thunder says, hi, Steve. I recently found a first edition of James Michener's Space for about $2. I've never read him before. I'm incredibly excited to start with this as a space race nerd. Yeah, just prepare yourself for the ending. You're in totally good hands up until the ending. And even the ending you are, but the ending is not what you will expect, and you might not like it. It's the number one complaint about Michener's Space. That reading guy's back. Steve, what do you do when you have an enthusiastic student who is turning into a dude bro? He's in his David Foster Wallace phase already. Depends on how much contact you have with him. If you can talk with him, you can talk him out of it. Certainly, I would think you could. ADHD Reader says, what are your favorite books on evolution? Do you have a video on it? Well, my favorite book about evolution is On the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, which is an amazing reading experience. And I do have videos on that. I did a mandatory read-along of Darwin's Origin of Species. But there's a book, again, I don't have the iPad, called Something Like a Whale that is really good on evolution. Really, really good. Also, The Ancestor's Tale by Richard Dawkins is amazing. It's amazingly good. Uh, SPQR Romantic says, I've always said Trump is like Julius Caesar, and I don't mean that as a compliment. It's the wrong thing to say. It's he's not like Julius Caesar at all. It's the wrong thing to do to compare him to things like that. Aslan says Trump effect on the USA seems to me to be as deep as Sulla walking his army on Rome. How do you even start to heal from that? Yeah. Well, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about healing from it. I hope I'm wrong about that. Stephen Newton says, "Did you hear Peter Thiel tried to buy Bain Books and has started his own publishing house?" Yeah, he tried to buy Bain Books, and of course, John Delarose, one of the worst people on YouTube, was all in favor of that. I think he thought that the minute the Thiel sale went through, he'd be welcomed at Bain with open arms and have to self-publish his Nazi crap. Uh, I'm sure he'll start. He believes from his comfortable Egyptian pile linen that he can buy anything. I mean, he bought the vice presidency. He's hoping that means he's bought the presidency. He's wrong about that, but he's hoping. He tried to buy clavicular, for Pete's sake. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I've read Zero Cather, but got Death Comes for the Archbishop and O Pioneers. I could be completely wrong, but I have a vague memory of you mentioning O Pioneers and chuckling a little bit dismissively. I have been known to do that, but it is brilliant. And so is Death Comes for the Archbishop. Cosmic A says, would you agree it's unsurprising that so many serial killers started off torturing animals before they moved on to people? Well, it's not surprising. No, it is part of the pathology. There's almost no major example where a serial killer did not do that. And it's not surprising, no, because their psychopathology grows as their body chemistry grows. And once it reaches a certain point, they've got to shed blood. And most of them can't start with humans. So they start with, the old family dog or a stray neighborhood cat or something like that. So it's not surprising, no, for a number of reasons. Manny says, I feel like a better question is who doesn't like Mahler? He is like a smorgasbord of classical music. Okay. All right. Medieval Priest says, are you very pessimistic about the future of reading? Or do you feel there might come a saturation of technology and future generations might revert to it in a big way? No, it's over. Recreational reading of the type that we all do is over. And there is no reverting like the kind that you're describing here. That actually never happens. Societal habits don't revert. Once they're gone, they're gone. They can reestablish in some way. They can be rebuilt in some way, but it won't happen organically. No. No, the reading of the type that we do, immersive, silent, solitary reading is over. Aslan says, my favorite Doctor Who episode is the space whale episode. It doesn't make sense, but I love it. Cozy says hello. ADHD reader says, as a diabetic, Ozempic has been a boon to help me manage my sugar levels in the beginning. Sadly, as the drug became a weight loss miracle drug, I lost access to it. Amazing. That reading guy says, what is your favorite memory from traveling in the UK? Well, they won't be very helpful. My memories won't be. I mean, you'd probably expect me to say nice crowded bookstores, but actually not. I spent a lot of time visiting country houses as a guest, not as a tourist, and a lot of those memories, a lot of those people, those friendships, a lot of those rambles out in the wilderness, in the back of nowhere, with dogs, in the mountains, even. A lot of those memories are my favorite, but they're entirely individual. They don't have. It's not like a favorite tourist attraction or anything like that. Uh, Sean Patrick says, Steve, what is your favorite quote from Shakespeare? I don't know that I have just one. They are all over my conversation. They are all through my videos. Every once in a while, I have somebody stumble across my channel. They don't stay. Every once in a while, someone will stumble across my channel as like an English professor or something like that, and they'll realize they'll write me an email saying, "Is your channel some sort of test? Am I supposed to be picking out all these things?" In this one video, you echoed Wordsworth and directly quoted from Shakespeare, and no one in your comment section seems to notice. And it's true. I do that all the time, and very few people ever notice. Uh, I don't know that I'd have any just one. I have all sorts of phrases and tags here and there that I throw all throughout. Uh, Medieval Priest says, I feel Woodhouse or Conan Doyle or even R.L. Stevenson could be decent entry points for a 13-year-old boy trying to get into reading. Yeah, they're all really good. Maybe not Woodhouse. I'd put him last of those three. Must Read More says, I've often tried to pick a favorite episode of Frasier, and I really can't do it. I started watching them when I was 7, and I've never tried it. It would be really tough. It would be really, really tough. The episode where with the antique clock, where Niall suspects that Maris is having an affair with her fencing instructor. That's pretty perfect from start to finish. Really, really pretty perfect from start to finish. Dr. Crane, your glockenspiel has sprung to life. But I think probably my single favorite Frasier episode is the one with Derek Jacobi as an old Shakespearean ham actor that they all loved when they were younger. They didn't realize when they were younger that he was really terrible. So that when they get a chance to finally have a theater of their own, they naturally invite him. And when they see that he's really terrible, there's this wonderful moment where they go back and look at their old videotapes, and he is just as terrible then as he was now. I think that's probably my favorite one, with a weird add-on part by Patrick Macnee as just this randy British actor. I don't even know what he's doing in that episode, but he's having such a ball, and I don't care. Uh, Joseph Malone says, "Are you a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm?" Very much so, yes. That reading guy says, "Are you still in contact with anybody you met during your world travels?" Almost nobody. 2 people, I think, total. 2 people. Cosmic A says, "Can you name some quick ways you can easily spot AI writing? What are the red flags?" I know Purple Prose is one. Yeah, Purple Prose is one. AI loves the gambit of it's not this, it's this. It's not this, it's this. uh Loves to load on adjectives. To me, I could make a kind of branch tree program of what to look for, but for me it's easy to spot. uh Morgan says, did you ever watch a film called Dinner Rush from 2000 starring Danny Aiello? That doesn't ring a bell. I don't I That doesn't ring a bell. Sean Patrick says, Steve, you've probably covered this prior, but what is the best way to get a sticker off of a book? uh Well, it depends on what kind of sticker it is. Some of them are made not to come off. Evil companies make them, evil stores use them. Some of them are made not to come off. Uh, Other than that, I usually just the way to get it off is not to peel it off. Peeling it off is a sure way to take whatever's on top, whatever's underneath it with it. I like to move them off. Just basically smudge them off to the side of the book. Uh, it's a slow process and it leaves residue behind that then has to be smudged off itself. But that works better for me than anything else. Damien says, thoughts on the Frasier reboot? Seems a Maris spinoff would make as much sense. The Frasier reboot was just so. I mean, everybody was trying. The whole ensemble, they were all trying, but it was just so fake. It was just so sitcom-y. It felt retro in all the worst possible ways, especially at the end, the premiere episode, at the end of the premiere episode, when the Fraser was going to leave town, right? He's visiting, he's just going to leave town. Instead, he decides to buy the building because, as he says, I'm rich. You're rich. Okay, so great. So let's invent that so that we can have a sitcom happen. Uh, Richard says, Steve, could you do scientific writing starter kit? Surely I've done that. Morgan says, have you ever seen that YouTube priest, Father Mike Schmitz? Very handsome guy, looks like John Hamm, talks a lot. Do I know this guy? I think that sounds familiar. XJ says, do you like Tom Stopper's adaptation of Le Carré's The Russia House? Surprisingly close to the book. I thought it was quite good. Yeah. Manny says, do you have a favorite sitcom? Well, Frasier has come up. Uh, that would be high up there. All in the Family, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, The Phil Silver Show, if you count that as a sitcom, would certainly be up there. Uh, Favorite, I don't know. I'm assuming we're ruling out The Simpsons because it's a cartoon. So if we're doing a live action, I don't know that I could pick a favorite one. It would probably be just 100 favorite sitcom episodes of whatever, whether it's Malcolm in the Middle or whatever. That reading guy says, "Who's going to write your obituary?" Sam Sachs, David Murphy, your Surly Houseboy. Well, I'm going to outlive all of them. They're really old. All the people that you've listed are really old. So who knows? Maybe you. Martins says, I've never read romance besides Jane Austen, but I randomly picked up The Foundling by Georgette Heyer. I hope it's a good story. It's very good. Sean Patrick says, Steve, I asked you this via email and didn't get the answer I was hoping for, so I'll try again in a live stream. Okay. Did Mr. Darcy have some sort of autism? That would explain some of his behavior. Well, okay, but if you're going to ask me a question, then you know what importance is it that you don't get the answer that you're hoping for? You're hoping for my answer, right? I didn't give you no answer on that question. I wrote back and said, no, he's not. My answer is the same now. No, he's not. Doesn't explain any of his behavior. If you're asking me the question, what does that mean? I'm hoping for a different answer that I'll agree with you. I don't agree with you. That no, my answer to the in the live stream is the same as it was in the email. No. Uh, Cosmic A says, "What is the most recent book that raised your cortisol level to dangerous level?" I try to keep my cortisol level really even. I just think it's really important that I never feel anything. Uh, Morgan says, "Ben Barnes, would he be a good Batman at least physically?" Uh, well, yeah, maybe. I I he wouldn't be on my top 10 list, I don't think. Uh, Must Read More says, I was too afraid to watch the Frasier reboot. I have so little faith in contemporary TV shows. In this case, it would have been justified. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't bad. They got a whole bunch of really a good ensemble group of troopers, but it wasn't good. It wasn't brilliant like Frasier. Tolstoy says, you strike me as a fan of avant-garde filmmaker Stan Brakhage, who's made films without a camera by scratching patterns on the filament. But do you prefer his early scrapes or his later scrapes? That reading guy says, "Oh, Steve, my mention of being in my 50s was intentionally mentioned as a joke. I'll probably die when I'm 28. I'll be hit by a bus, I presume, or eaten by a bear." Michael says, "Good evening, Steve. I've been reading Eric Hoffer's The True Believer. I'm wondering if you found the book any good." Not remembering it clearly enough to know. I think that I know it, but I have no judgment on it. That's for sure. Not off the top of my head. Cozy says your insistence has made me finally buy a Kobo to give e-reading a try. I've given away all my recent books and plan only to keep physical copies of old history books and Library of America. E-reading is a joy. This thing is never very far from me. Uh, uh, Kay Napolo says Gutsick Gibbon you recommended is fascinating on evolution. Yeah, she's fantastic. Talk about some marathon length videos. Yes, she puts me to shame. Uh, ADHD reader says, "Oh, what a pleasure! I literally just picked a hardcover version of The Ancestor's Tale. Picked it up in the hope that it would be good. It's brilliant, just brilliant. It's one of those books that has something amazing literally on every page." Uh, that reading guy says, "We are long overdue for another mandatory read along. What would you choose? War and Peace, House of Mirth, some nonfiction." Yeah, we should have a mandatory read along, shouldn't we? I mean, the Origin of Species was a no brainer. Pride and Prejudice was a no brainer, but there are probably others. But a mandatory read along of War and Peace, I don't know about that. Colombian Thunder says, I've also read Giovanni's Room for the first time and thought it was incredible. Do you have any James Baldwin recommendations? I'm not his biggest fan. I'm glad you liked it, but I don't have any recommendations. No. Hegasander says, have you seen the films of Wong Kar-wai, like In the Mood for Love? I remember you loved Rashomon. Yeah, I have not, I don't think, seen the films of Wong Kar-wai. Cosmic A says, did Wyoming feel as isolated as people have told me? There were parts of it that were like being on the moon. Yeah. Uh, Aslan says, do you recommend reading okay, that's supposed to be Mommsen's History of Rome? I do, but I wouldn't prioritize it. I wouldn't. There are other things on Rome that you could read before you get to Mommsen. Uh, Cramericans Industry says, please remain in the relaxation grotto. Have crueler words ever been spoken? Has to be top three Frasier moments. Well, there's so many Frasier moments, right, that are just incredible. Like when uh When Fraser opens the door in his bathrobe, BB Besh is right behind him. BB Glacier is right behind him, and Niles is at the door. And he says, "Congratulations." I'd assume she'd have killed after mating. And or when the first time that Maris comes to Seattle, and and Daphne says, "I feel a clawing at the psychic continuum." Oh, let's see here. Eric Gaines says, "Do you enjoy the writings of Lauren Isley?" Very much so. Tolstoy 111 says, "Do you like The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman? I saw a prof call it a modern classic." I liked it. It's not a modern classic though. Morgan says, "Father Mike Schmidt's features on the Ascension Presents channel." This is sounding vaguely familiar, but not enough for me to recall him. Colombian Thunder says, "After recently just finishing Dune Messiah, I'm even more skeptical about Villeneuve as its director. I feel like his style is too grounded and sterile for a book that gets really psychedelic." We'll see. I'm a bit of a heretic in that I don't like his Dune movies, and if I don't like his Dune movies, well, I can't imagine he's going to succeed with Dune Messiah. One particular thing will determine it. One particular plot development in Dune Messiah will determine how he deals with whether or not he gets the book at all. And I bet you can guess. I bet you can guess the moment that I'm talking about. I'm not spoiling anything. The stone burner. You'll know what that means. If he does that right, then he might have a chance, but he won't do it right. He won't. I don't think he'll even understand the prose that he read in order to adapt it. Uh, Must Read More says, "My favorite Cheers episode is also a Frasier centered one, the one where Frasier and Lilith flirt and play footsie on a live TV show." uh, oh, no, the chat jumped, but the chat can't keep jumping because we have to go. Morgan says, "Also, having watched Aiello in the movie I mentioned, I remember how great an actor he was. Do you share his sentiment?" That's why I was a little confused when you mentioned this movie, because I love him and I thought I'd seen every movie. I thought I knew every movie that he was in. So I must know this movie that you're mentioning and just not be calling it to mind. But I think he's great. I think he's absolutely great. Of course, he's never any better than in Moonstruck, but Moonstruck is brilliant. So everybody's great in Moonstruck. He's never any better than he is in that movie. A man who can't control his woman is funny. But still, that reading guy says, "You should do a classic movie starter kit for culturally illiterates like me. People drone on and about Citizen Kane, Godfather, Pulp Fiction, but they sound too much like dude bro cult classics." Yeah, yeah, yeah. I, where would I draw the line on classic movies, though? I mean, where would that end? I mean, stereotypically in movie culture overviews and histories, classic is anything before Bonnie and Clyde. I guess I could do that. It breaks my heart to think how many people out there have never seen 12 Angry Men. They've never seen the Philadelphia Story. Never even heard of it. Never even heard of the Philadelphia Story. It breaks my heart to think of that. Uh, Dylan says, "Hey Steve, glad to catch the stream. What did you think of the Philo Vance books? I recently tried the first one, found it very dry, almost clinical in how cookie cutter it was. Yeah, I don't like them at all. They are lifeless, utterly lifeless. They are for mystery fans who think mysteries are math problems, and I know there are plenty of those, but I'm not one of them." Hagasander says, "Would you ever make a video where you show the process of cleaning up a book, or does that simply take too long? What if David Murphy edited it?" Yeah, David could edit it. He could do something like that. Who knows what kinds of things he could create? If only he would come back here. Uh, Aslan says, "I started reading on my phone and it has changed my life." Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's interesting to hear. Morgan says, "Have you ever investigated the suspicious death of the musician Elliott Smith?" I have not. Should I? One of you put me on to Kurt Cobain years ago, and I was very much the happier for it. uh, Gituary says, "Hey Steve, you yelled at me about not writing a few weeks ago, so now I'm about 9,000 words into a first novel. Thanks for the motivation." My pleasure. I love to yell at people. Seamus says, "Have you read Harold Bloom's Genius?" We were almost out. We were almost out of the live stream without a "have you read" question. We almost got there. We only have like 5 or 10 minutes left. but I am instructed to be nice. I have read it. I mostly liked it, but it's a lazy book. Hannah's Books is back. Ancestor's Tale works backwards in time, right? Such an interesting approach. It's yeah, partly it does. It's a braided approach. It works wonderfully. That reading guy says, "What makes a sitcom good versus dumb? What are your favorites?" Well, I've already listed my favorites, some of them. But what I want the comparison of the two Frasers is a perfect example of what is there or what is missing. Are you telling a barrage of jokes, or are you, or do you have some sort of magic involved? The the original Frasier is pure magic. The revamp was just a bunch of jokes. Uh, it's there's a dissertation to be written there somewhere. California says, "Do you like Chihuahuas? I feel like they are evil incarnate." They are kind of evil incarnate, but I love all my babies, all of them. That boy says, "Dude, you like the Rockford Files? My dad loves it, but I could never get into it. I never got into it either. I just it seemed like such a lazy show, just such a lazy show. It never got to me at all, not in the slightest." Tolstoy 111 says, "Probably a stupid question, but is Stand on Zanzibar worth the time investment?" Very much so, yes. Morgan says, "The last thing I can say about that bloody Mike Schmitz is that he literally looks like Superman or Batman. It's just a bit jarring to see a guy be a priest." Yeah, I don't know this name. Sounds like I should. Uh, it's just Gino says, "I enjoyed hearing your thoughts on how SF's anthologies in your recent Brattle Hall. How would you approach putting together an anthology? I'd love to know what you would include." Well, I'm not saying that I would be as good at it as Terry Carr or Otto Penzler. I it takes skill to do. Don Walheim was fantastic at it. Donald Walheim and his wife were fantastic at it. Gardner Dozois was fantastic at it. But it would be the stereotypical things. You would want to balance length against length, not have 5 novellas in a row, but also the subject matter, the tone, a really dark and serious thing, you'd want to leaven that up with something a little lighter, maybe something a little shorter. Uh, there's so many good science fiction anthologies out there. Uh, let's see. ADHD Reader says Christopher Rocchios famously hates the Dune movies. Does that make you a Sun Eater fan? No, it does not. It just means that we're on that wavelength together. Yeah, I don't like them. I even tried after I did an hour-long video about the first movie. I tried to like the second movie, and there were parts of it that were visually impressive. I always joke that I wish they were filmed in color, but there were parts of it that were visually impressive. But Dune Messiah is a completely different kettle of fish. That's why it loses so many people who like Dune. So many people think that all the Dune books get worse and worse as they go along. Nothing could be further from the truth. But the reason they think that is because Dune Messiah loses them. How am I supposed to think that it's not going to lose Villeneuve? Cosmic Gaze says, "How dangerous do you think the evangelical Doug Wilson is?" Extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. He says all Catholics and Muslims should be barred from office and has connections to Trump. Yes, but he doesn't just say that. If you dig around in his writings, or if you talk to people who talk to him personally, he says that all Catholics and Muslims should be put to death if they don't convert. He doesn't just say they should be barred from office. He says they shouldn't live unless they become his kind of Christian. He says that Catholics aren't Christian. So it's a lot worse than that. He is a monster. He is extremely dangerous. The closer he gets to power, the more dangerous he is. Anyone who can say, as he proudly says, that women are the people that people come out of. Oh God. Anyway, uh, uh, Manny says, after the last Stevestream, I tried The Departed again, having DNF'd it, and I can see why you like it. It was great. I felt the kind of movie Tarantino wished he could have made. Tolstoy 111 is responding to someone else, saying, "You're responding to that reading guy. The Godfather was the highest grossing film of all time. It's not really a cult film." Morgan says, "Thank heavens you love AO2." Oh, I do. I think he's fantastic. He's absolutely divine. He was an NYC restaurateur in the film, which unravels mostly over one night and has him dealing with mobs, snobs, critics. I must know this movie. Why am I not calling it to mind? I must know it. I probably saw it in the theater. I never missed a movie of his. Ah, You highly recommend it. All right, well, I'll have to find it because it's clearly not ringing a bell with me now. All I really remember him from now is Moonstruck. That reading guy says, but it's the epitome of dude bro venerating evil by making it a morality play. Oh, you're responding to someone else. Okay. Aslan says, I read the prologue to M, Son of the Century at the bookshop, and now my TBR is in shambles. It's Steve recommendations. In the Two Towers, Aragorn says, the leaves of Lothlorien do not lightly fall. Steve's recommendations do not lightly fall. I know what I'm talking about when I recommend a book. So, Tolstoy 111 is responding to someone else. Okay, so we were at Tolstoy 111, but we have to wrap this up. And I don't know how we're going to do that because I don't know how I'm going to get to all of these. Columbia Nova says, Steve, definitely look into Elliott Smith's death. He was my favorite musician, so it's hard for me to look into it, but the circumstances of his death are certainly eyebrow raising. Sounds fine to me. Stephen Newton says, I am a sucker for any movie with Cary Grant. People don't know the Philadelphia Story. I swear. I mean, people have not watched these things. They might have heard of Arsenic and Old Lace, but they haven't watched it. And they don't know about the Philadelphia. When people say, well, older movies, they're so tinny. They're so one-dimensional. I like the greater complexity of modern movies. This is the first thing I think of. The Philadelphia Story was made for adults by adults. And it doesn't bear any resemblance. I'm supposed to look at some, what was that Brad Pitt movie where Gwyneth Paltrow gets shot in the neck in a bus? I'm supposed to think that is searing adult entertainment. Anyway, California says, do you enjoy Seymour Hersh? What is his best piece of reporting? I have conflicted history with Seymour Hersh. I don't think he has. I wouldn't use his reporting. If I were going to point to something that I liked by him, I would pick a bigger book project. It's a tricky subject. Morgan says, response to should I? Smith apparently stabbed himself in the chest twice with his partner at home. No hesitation wounds. Incredible. Oh no, you're right. That's incredible. That would not happen. Well, I don't know this at all. Dylan says, if you were interested in the discussion around Kurt Cobain's death, then Elliott Smith would definitely pique your interest, especially as the discussion is less conspiratorial, if a bit more misogynist. Yeah, I read Heavier Than Heaven about Kurt Cobain, and it left me with a clear impression. And it wasn't until you people started mentioning to me that it was meant to leave me with a clear impression, because it was written by a concerned party. And then I dug into it, and yeah, my eyes were open. Literary Wanderer says, the three-body problem, yay or nay? It's pretty good. That reading guy says, what are you reading tonight? I am reading, what have we got here? I am reading The Devil and Cannon Barm for Edmund Wilson. I am reading My Most Excellent Year by Steve Kluger. A kind of quasi-gay novel, but it has a lot to do with the Boston Red Sox, set in Boston. And I'm going to, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to finish House for Mr. Biswas. I'm very proud of myself because I'm in the middle of reading a book, just like the rest of you. But I wouldn't be. I would have finished this already, but I had editorial interruption in my afternoon, so I couldn't do it. So I'm going to finish this. I thought there was a new release. I feel so bad that new releases are never on my reading list anymore. I thought there was a new release. No, there are no new. Well, I could still work in a new release. Plus, I am trying for the millionth time. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I'm trying for the millionth time to see what happened with this book, to see what happened with Hannibal Rising. I'm for the millionth time. I don't know that I'll be any more successful in trying to figure out this book. Anyway, Cosmic A says, were you an X-Files fan? Oh, very much so. Very much so. Tolstoy 111 says, Manny, you really think that... Oh, wait. Okay, you're talking to someone else. Brett says, did you enjoy Akil Amar's The Words That Made Us or Born Equal? No. Hegasander says, I love 12 Angry Men, especially the dismantled skepticism of Juror 4 and how it handled the slowly exposed fascism of Juror 10. It's allegory is done quite gracefully. It's the entire U.S. in one jury. Yes, it's the entire U.S. in one jury, and for once, a more modern adaptation is not a disgrace. There was a later adaptation uh, that's really quite good, even though the two main roles are hammed up by Jack Lemmon and George C. Scott. Even though that's true, all the other parts are amazing. James Gandolfini, uh, uh, Edward James Olmos, a whole bunch of Tony Danza is the Jack Klugman role in that update, and he's quite good. so, so I guess it's just bulletproof material. Uh, Manny says, oh, right, he's talking to somebody else. Medieval Priest says, I absolutely hate the Dune movies. They feel synthetic, lifeless, and are just a series of grandiose screensavers. I tend to agree. I think we're in the minority, though. XJ says, DeSantis down here in Florida is a particularly disgusting fellow. Yes. Yes, he is. Uh, uh, E24 says, hi, hello, mister. Hega Sanders says, I do recommend the In the Mood for Love as well. I believe that you may like it, even though it is a foreign film. I found it marvelously nuanced. Well, watching more and more venues not only finally see the new adaptation of The Stranger, but love it, is making me want to just rewatch that screener over and over again. That reading guy says, The Philadelphia What is a movie I should watch? Oh my God. It's called The Philadelphia Story. It stars Katharine Hepburn and Jimmy Stewart and Cary Grant. And it's incredible. Dylan says, Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn are my favorite and the screen pairing. Can't believe people think older movies are one-dimensional. Even their more childish outing, Holiday, is so alive and vibrant. Right. Or other admittedly childish outings, like, for instance, Bringing Up Baby, is an admittedly silly movie. Still tremendously good. But Adam's Rib, His Girl Friday, uh, 12 Angry Men, The Philadelphia Story. These are amazing things, and people just don't know them. They just don't know them. They might as well be gone. They're not on any streaming service. They're just not findable. Tolstoy 111 says, Manny, oh, you're talking to someone else. Okay. Must Read More says, I'm rereading Sherlock Holmes stories for the first time in years and having a blast, starting at The Adventure of the Cardboard Box next. Tolstoy 111 says, do you like the film All the President's Men? No, I don't. The problem with adhering to historical record is that there's no dramatic shape to it at all. Right. It's just a pure exercise in alcoholism. Morgan says, really intrigued to see what you come up with for R.E. Smith. He was such a tragic life and seemed sweet, definitely suicidal and a terrible upbringing, but also talked to other people out of suicide. Yeah, the bits that I'm hearing now already don't make sense. I'll just have to look into it. I just hope I remember. That's all. Aslan made the chat jump. Aslan made the chat jump, but we do have to go. Aslan says, Steve, I'm looking for historical fiction set in the Ottoman Empire. Do you have anything you recommend? Not off the top of my head, no. Wasn't there a murder mystery? I could swear there was a murder mystery series set in the Ottoman Empire that was quite good. Oh, I can almost remember the name of the first book. Oh, no, I'm not going to remember it. If it is, I'm not going to remember it. Medieval Priest says, I never thought I'd hear you mention Heavier Than Heaven. Well, you can never tell. Steve reads everything. And Heavier Than Heaven, good Lord, what an effective book. I mean, it moved me like crazy. I didn't think what I should have thought, because I call myself a critical reader. I should have thought, why am I being told this version of the story? Is it true? Does the author have an agenda? All basic critical reading questions that I didn't think to ask. That reading guy says, are you slowly moving away from reading new releases, considering how bad they've become? Well, I don't want to. They are really, really bad. They are really, really bad, but I don't want to move away from them. I've got a ton of them to go through. The only unread books here. Manny is responding to somebody else. Okay, but we have to wrap this up. We're gone past 10 past the hour. Colombian Thunder says, I tried reading a book at 130 pages an hour and had an accident. Must Read More says, I served on a jury once. It wasn't very cinematic or dramatic at all. Baby, come up here. Turn around and come up here. You can't, Frida, you can't do it. Come up here. Frida, come here. Come on. You can do it. Come on. There you go. Good. We'll wrap this up soon. Don't you worry. Let's see here. Must Read More says, I serve. Oh, right. Medieval Priest says, Hannibal Rising is what happens when a publishing house and studio borderline forces an author to write a sequel he clearly didn't want to write. I can't help but think that might be the ultimate explanation for this thing. Morgan says, speaking of Danny Aiello, I have similar affinity to Tom Wilkinson. Maybe you do too. Yeah, of course I do. Stephen Newton says, Jack Lemmon also did the remake Inherit the Wind. Oh, right. It's Jack Lemmon that I'm thinking of. Right. Who did I say? Did I not say Jack Lemmon? Yeah, Jack Lemmon and George C. Scott. They did a remake of Inherit the Wind and did a remake of 12 Angry Men. Neither one of them better than the original. I don't think either one of them was thinking that they were. They're just the really meaty parts for the two of them. Colombian Thunder says, Arsenic and Old Lace is amazing. I love how it just gets crazier and crazier. Yes, it does. Tolstoy 111 says, when Henry Fonda pulls out that knife in the jury room, lawyers everywhere cringe. Instant mistrial. Well, okay. He admits that he shouldn't have done it. But it was the risk of a mistrial to avoid the risk of electrocuting an innocent person. Manny says, this might be a dumb question, but is Casablanca worth watching? Yes, it is. Yeah. That reading guy says, I can't be well read and well watched at the same time, considering I have to do this thing called sleep. Well, that's your own choice, bucko. Stephen Newton says, all the classic films you mention are part of the Criterion collection. XJ says, the Stone Woman from Tariq Ali is set in the Ottoman period. But I'm thinking of, I could swear I'm thinking of a murder mystery series set during the Ottoman Empire. I almost want to say that the detective is a eunuch. Oh, that's going to drive me crazy. But anyway, let's wrap this up. Morgan says, though you read about Kurt, do you think his music stunk? What about Alice in Chains? Yeah, Nirvana stinks. So does Alice in Chains. A Medieval Priest says, Sweet Smell of Success. The film is also pretty damn good oldie. Stephen Newton says, Arsenic and Old Lake is great Halloween comedy. Dylan says, regarding the murder mystery set in the Ottoman Empire, are you thinking of The Janissary Tree by Jason Goodwin? That might be it. Yeah. That might be it. That reading guy says, what's the issue with Hannibal Rising? Is it different from the other books? It is very different from the other books, yes. It is very slight. I'm trying to piece it together. I've heard the story, the hypothesis that the reason that it fails as a Hannibal Lecter book is because it was basically coerced out of the writer, who was told, we own your properties, and if you don't write this, we'll have someone else do it. I've heard that. I like to think of Thomas Harris as a writer who would be great anyway, even under duress. I'm reading it again. I can't believe I'm reading it again. Haggis Sanders says, I watched the 1930 Im Western Nick News and didn't like it. Well, I don't doubt. Not 12 Angry Men, but most old Hollywood movies, films have actors speak in a theatrical way. It was especially hard for my ears to hear. Danger Kid says, Steve, are you familiar with the artist Ian Bertram? I just got an art book of his entirely based on finding the artwork striking and found out he's a comic book artist. Doesn't ring a bell. Cashew Paul says, hello. Aslan says, I don't understand how we didn't invent a drug not to sleep yet. It's so caught up in your whole physiology. The need for it is so hardwired. It's so strange. Without it, you will die quickly. Manny says, it's funny that I've watched The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 before 12 Angry Men or the Philadelphia Story. Yeah, that is funny. California says, did you enjoy the TV show Scrubs? I loved it, of course. And Scrubs would be another example where, I know a million moments. Does that mean it's my favorite sitcom? I don't know. The next time I have a guest here, there are certain bits from Scrubs that we will certainly watch. Morgan says, what do you mainly dislike about that kind of grunge music? It's structureless. It's grating. It's not musically adept. It's full of self-pity. It's made of self-pity. I hate self-pity. And so on and so forth. Cold Forna says, what do you think of the manga series Akira? I don't know it. I don't know any manga. I think it contains some of the best illustrative works in both manga and Western comic books. I don't know manga at all. That reading guy says, beware shot in the hall wars coming soon. Mark my words. The only way that you could do a shot in the hall wars is if you return to book 2. And I think we both know you're not going to do that. Tolstoy 111 says, I always thought the accused in 12 Angry Men was guilty. The evidence went well beyond reasonable doubt. No, no. The whole point was that the evidence only looked like it was beyond reasonable doubt. It wasn't actually. The whole point of the movie is that Henry Fonda is raising reasonable doubt for 2 hours. John O'Connell says, attempted to listen to Anthony Beavers discuss his new book on Rasputin and the Book Notes podcast. His constant us were maddening. I had to abort. Yeah, he has that tick, and he's been told it too. He has that tick so bad. It's ADHD reader says, what do you think of the Scrubs revival? The same thing as I think about the Frasier revival. It's just Jonathan Matthews says, do you like Frasier? Yes, you will see when you replay this 2-hour live stream that I've been talking about it nonstop. I love it. Colombian Thunder says, not sure if you are a Beatles fan at all, but Elliott Smith is quite Beatles-esque, so maybe you'll enjoy his stuff. Well, I don't think I need to listen to his music to study his death. Right? Aslan says, Steve, how can we convince you to read more manga? It hasn't caught on with me yet. Not much. Just Crying Freeman and Death Note. That's it. That's all. California says, I've heard from friends in the medical profession that Scrubs is one of the more accurate shows regarding the profession. That reading guy says, them's fighting words, Steve. I don't know what they would be. I've been abusing you for 2 hours. Morgan says, I have no self-control. These streams eat me alive. You're a streamer now. We're hooked. Streamer. I'm a streamer now. That reading guy says, I need to work on my tick too, one of many. You got more ticks than the Rocky Mountains. That's part of your charm. Anyway, well, I have to wrap this up, though. One more bean watch. All right. One more bean watch. She's, of course, wedged next to me. ADHD reader says, well, I think the Pit has to be the most accurate now. Pretty riveting. You'd hate to think that it's accurate. Jonathan Matthews says, and what do you think of the Red and the Black? I'm reading it now, and I love it. You must be new to my channel, right? I love the Red and the Black. California says, what is the name of that Oxford Press work on the flood narrative and how it has been interpreted through history? You mentioned it in one of your What I'm Reading videos. What did you think of it? I loved it. What was it called? Well, if you Google search or you do a search on Amazon for Noah's flood and history, you should get it. I don't remember its exact title. Aslan says, Vagabond is a great manga. It's an adaptation of the Musashi book. Stephen Newton says, I know you don't like Norman Mailer, but what are your thoughts on James Jones? I can live with James Jones. His books are silly sometimes. There are some absolutely virtuoso pieces of my own profession of critical brochetting of his books, but I can live with them. I just recently reread From Here to Eternity and I actually quite liked it. Morgan says, coming to Hyde Cottage to convert you to grunge appreciation. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Dylan says, thanks for the stream, Steve. Have a nice evening. Thank you all. This was wonderful. Cosmic A says, speaking of Death Note, have you seen they put out a single 2,300 page edition? Yeah, I would like that edition. I've seen a great big black brick of a thing. Manny says, I need to reread the Red and the Black and Charterhouse soon. They're both so good. I agree. And Must Read More says, I wish I could stop with ums and ahs, but doing videos off the cuff, they just come out naturally. And that reading guy says, more sleep for tonight. No, no, I don't want to make a habit of this. I've got plenty of stuff to do. I've got to try and figure out Hannibal Rising for the millionth time. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. This has been wonderful. Thank you all very much. I will be back. We will do another one of these soon. I don't know about next week. Dun, dun, dun. But we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I will be back. Thank you, BookTube. Dun, dun, dun.